Computer all day.
I do too. I have a hard time seeing at all. That's why I wear these glasses. Anyway, welcome to American Hammers TV. We've got a good group tonight, and we might have more, or might not have more. I don't know. You never know who's going to drop in. You know how that goes. James just dropped in last week, right? And he's here again this week, so that's great. So before we get started, I'll say what I always say. Check us out at AmericanHammers.net. Check out our merchandise. I'm a little angry at the Bruins because they're losing, so I've covered their Stanley Cup photo up with my American Hammers flag back there. I think I'm pointing at it. So if you want an American Hammers TV flag like that one, or all kinds of stuff, there's even stuff that's just West Ham stuff that's not American Hammers stuff, which you can get on our website. Go for that. And give your money to us to keep this going instead of giving your money to David Sullivan. Also, if you want to be on the show, like James, for instance, or anybody else, you're a West Ham fan, or you just are curious, you're anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where, you don't have to be in the US, certainly, anywhere in the world, let us know. Find us on social media. Email us at AmericanHammersTV@gmail.com. I think it's Gmail. Yeah, AmericanHammersTV@gmail.com. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually have access to that account anymore. I think Tim cut me off. But anyway, no, I forgot the password is the problem. I forgot the password. Anyway, yeah, let us know. And also, please like and subscribe and tell your friends. Tell your friends if they're West Ham fans, if they're not. I don't really care. Just tell your friends to like and subscribe. It really doesn't hurt. I've subscribed to so many YouTube things that I never watch. I don't really care if you watch or not. Just like and subscribe, okay? That's really what's important here. But I'm glad you're watching. And as I said before, next to me here, I have to point the opposite direction. Next to me here in Philly, it's Katie, who, of course, hosts Hometown. It's called Hometown Hammer, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Central Time, 1 a.m. British summertime. I don't understand that. So James is going to have to tell me all about that.
Their time.
Greenwich Mean Time.
Is it Greenwich Mean Time?
That's what it is. Yeah.
GMT.
Yeah.
GMT,
So, yeah, Katie does good work. Danny coming in with a lame excuse, as always. I mean, come on, Danny. What's going on, man?
All right, Danny.
3 a.m.'s on a wake-up call. You just don't go to sleep if you got to be up at 3. You know what I mean? You just go all the way through. Anyway, Danny, I hope you're okay. Good to hear from you. Glad you've tuned in. Of course, as always, with me in Colorado, it's Sully. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. It's funny with the 3 a.m. wake-up call. My dad restarted a new shift on his bus schedule, and he has to be awake at 2 a.m.
That's
so
brutal,
he goes to
man.
sleep at like 8. He's like, I couldn't do it.
When I was growing up, the kids next door, their dad worked nights. He worked nights at the bulk post office in Dallas, and so he slept all day. And in the summer, I couldn't ever go inside their house because he was asleep. You know, and if I went into their house and we played, watched TV or whatever, we'd wake him up. You know, and I always wanted to watch MTV or ESPN because this was the early '80s. And we didn't have cable. My parents wouldn't get cable, but my neighbors had it. And I was like, oh, let's watch MTV. Let's watch music videos. Let's watch that like Australian football on ESPN. But I couldn't go to her house and do it because we woke up her dad. So anyway, James is actually in East London. James is actually from East London, proper Cockney, unlike the rest of us. He came on last week, and he's here again this week. James, how's it going?
Oh, all good, mate. Very happy with Monday's win. Not happy with the performance, but that's a different story. But yeah, wet, windy, and loving life.
Well, listen, that's a good segue. Obviously, always happy to get 3 points. Didn't think we played particularly well. A little bit worried coming up with Sunday afternoon's game. Give me your impressions, you guys. Katie, why don't you start? Give me. Oh wait, hang on. Who's this? Oh, it's Nolan. There he is. All right. Well, when he comes in, I'll put it. There he is. There he is. There he is. We just finished the intros, and there he is. There he is. Katie's neighbor, actual neighbor, and also screen neighbor. Now they're right next to each other. In Philly. How you doing, John?
Good. How are you, Lisa's?
I feel good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, we were just saying, beautiful day on the East Coast today. Got a lot of stuff done, a lot of stuff in. Did some grilling, hung out outdoors a little bit. It was good. Yeah, it was good.
Spectacular day. It was beautiful.
Wonderful, and of course, it falls in the middle of the week because they always do like that, right? That's the way it always is. Anyway, so yeah, Katie. Well, I'll start with you because you're right next to me. Give me a few thoughts about Leeds and whatever's on your mind. about the game.
Here it was midway through my workday. Unfortunately, I did not. I was not able.
It's the same way for all of us here.
Yeah, capture the first half.
Right.
But I jumped in second half and was very excited to see that we had the 2-0 lead, of course. True to our story, we are not good in the second half. We played to their pace. They obviously owned the possession. It was difficult to watch, frustrating to see Ben Rama give away the ball.
He does too
many
much
times
of that.
over. It was just an overall frustrating second half for me to watch, and I really got nervous that we were going to let it slip through. Obviously, extremely happy to walk away with 3 points, but I think that we have a lot that we need to focus on moving into the next couple weeks, depending on where things stand for us with the bigger teams. If we can't get better communication and tracking in our defense towards the end of the second half, they are going to shred us to pieces. So kind of my 2 cents on that.
No, you're right. And we won't have Lingard against Manchester United because you can't play against him because he's on loan from him. So
right.
I think that's gonna be difficult. John, what were some of your impressions?
Yeah, I think Declan Rice probably summed it up the best in his interview after the match. The players didn't seem too happy with the performance, but we did enough, didn't we? I mean, we created plenty of chances.
And it was 2-0. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't like it was squeeze your bum time there in the last. We were up by 2.
I was squeezing my bum. I don't know what you're talking
about. Listen, as West Ham fans, we always do, right? I mean, it could be 12-0 and we'd still be, worried in injury time. But, I mean, we did enough. Yeah, sure, we did. But how nice was it to hear Declan say that, though, right? And Moyes, I think, kind of said the same thing. Sam Allardyce would have been like, "Oh, it was a great performance," But these guys, they weren't satisfied. Anyway, keep going, John. Sorry.
No, I think Rice summed it up. We made plenty of chances. I think we hit the woodwork. What was it, 2-3 times? 4 else's was. I wish that would have gone.
Oh, that would have been a beauty. It would have been great for him too. Would have been great for him.
Yeah, we did enough. I think I was pretty confident coming into the match. I think just the way we work is the perfect counter to the way that Leeds works. So I think we saw it in the first match. Just their brand of football really plays into our hands and what we like to do. So
you mean brave, beautiful, bold Leeds with their lavish football and their genius manager, and it is
a little over the top.
It's way over the top.
I think even some of their fans, actually, I was reading the KUMB view from the opposition afterwards, and even some of their fans seem to be blushing a little bit about how much the commentators go on about Leeds and Bielsa, so they're quite aware. But it's great to do the double over
anybody,
especially
anybody,
especially an old time big name. Really, Leeds United used to be quite the club.
If you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen the movie. I haven't ever read the book, but I'm sure you've seen the movie The Damned United. Great movie with. Oh, for heaven's sake, the English guy who's in everything. What's his name? He even did a turn in 30 Rock. I'll think of it later.
I can picture his face, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? Anyway, he plays Brian Clough, and who, of course, is legendary Nottingham Forest manager in the 70s and 80s. Very successful. James knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, Damned United's a great movie. It's about him going to Leeds and basically failing, and that's not really a spoiler. That's what the whole movie's about. So maybe you want to watch that movie again, actually, because the Leeds supporters come off as such total pricks in that movie. So, anyway, James, what do you think about Monday? You told me after the game what you thought. Tell everybody else.
I thought the first 10 minutes we was horrendous, mate. If I'm honest, we didn't get out of our own box. We was all over the place.
Lucky. Very lucky.
I thought we got away with the offside with a kneecap. That summed it up. And honestly,
was he offside though, James? Was he really? I mean,
I think if you're surmising over a kneecap, then it's tight, and he shouldn't be in that position in the first place. Let's be honest.
The only thing that made me feel better was that the linesman put up his flag. All right, so at least it wasn't VAR overturning a goal. If VAR overturns a goal in that situation, I'm sorry, I think it's criminal. As a West Ham fan, I'm happy, but that's criminal if VAR overturns a goal over that. But the fact they put his flag up to begin with, that makes me feel better. For some reason. Anyway, go ahead.
If I'm honest, Leeds played well. They did play well. I will give them credit. They spurned so many chances against us. We played poor in the first 10 minutes. After that, I don't know what happened. He changed the system. I think he put four nails back into midfield. We looked a completely different team going forward. We looked like we could run at Leeds then. Then for the rest of the half, we played well. Scored 2 goals, got the penalty, got the header, hit the post.
Yep.
Second half, I'm not being funny, but I thought we was terrible, mate. We had one shot on target on the 89th minute, and if Leeds score that goal that they needed to score when Bamford come out second half and missed basically an open goal, it would have been a completely different game. But it's a good win, but not a good performance. That's that's sums it up.
Michael Sheen, that is that guy's name. The actor. Yeah, I mean, well, James, I mean, let's think about it. Well, actually, you know what, Sally, you go first. I talk too much anyway. What'd you think, Sally?
Yeah, so I think it says a lot right now that not only did we pull out a victory against a pretty decent side playing poorly, which normally hasn't been the case for us in recent years, but I think the biggest part about the game was the fact that none of the players were happy about the performance, because I think it would have been one thing to where, you can obviously see it as a fan. So like, we got away with one, obviously the first 10 minutes. I guess spot on also to the side judge who called the ball out of play before he curled it back in.
Yes, that too.
But the first few minutes, like as James was saying, like we were asleep. I don't know if it was that we were feeling too confident or what it was, but like Leeds were the best team in England for the first 10 minutes if they convert those 2 goals. But at the same time, I think the penalty definitely woke the team up. Fornell's playing in a position that he should be playing in. I think it was huge because his distribution was great. I think obviously having him in the middle of the pitch, especially when you have Rice and Souček, you basically have 3 box-to-box players right there in essence, and I think that's going to be a menace for a lot of teams to handle.
Yeah.
I think, as you guys are saying, if Fornell scores that, it's goal of the year. I don't care what anybody says. But it was just good to see the fact that nobody was happy about their performance. But I think honestly,
nothing takes away Lanzini's goal, though. I'm sorry, but even if Fornell scores that, Lanzini's top corner against Spurs will stay in my memory
forever. Yeah,
for a lifetime.
No, it'll be nice to see in years coming when like the Premier League Twitter is like this day in history.
We're gonna see
West Ham's comeback, but no, I think a few years ago when we were talking about, or probably even last season, honestly, when we were discussing about Declan Rice being the captain, there was a lot of talk about his immaturity. Obviously he had a couple of videos of him being scared or whatever, which isn't necessarily a knock on maturity, but he looks very comfortable speaking to the reporters after matches, which I don't know if that's captain's duties, which I would assume that it is, because Mark used to do all the time, but he was honest. Obviously, he kind of has some joking truths behind the penalty spot, or the penalty kick rather, but I mean, I think the team takes after him in a way.
Penalties, silly. I think he was dead serious when he told.
No. I'm just saying the way that he talked about it, it seemed as it was kind of talking about the gaff and all that. But yeah, I mean, it seems as if the team is his to lead. Is I guess what I'm trying to get at.
It's a new team. It's a new way of forward now. If I'm being honest, sorry to cut in, but I've never seen this West Ham team go from being a team which is bang average, which has been bang average, to a team that is now looking way up and looking like we can compete with anyone in the league. Like, I agree with what you've just said there. I think it is massively. I couldn't work it out being here. How we can go and play Man City and play really, really well, and then turn up against Leeds and look like we can't defend for love or money. Yeah. So it was a bit mental, but you're right what you say, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, and John brought this up. Everybody's kind of brought this up. I like the reaction after the match, and I think one of the things I like about Declan Rice is he doesn't seem to have much of a filter. He kind of says what he thinks. He'll be critical of himself and of his teammates when it's appropriate without kind of bringing him down. I feel as though Moyes is the same way. And I love the fact that after a game like this, a 2-0 win over mid-table opposition, not only were the players not satisfied, the manager wasn't satisfied. A lot of us weren't either. I mean, there was a lot of complaining on social media after this game. I don't know if you noticed. To me, James, it goes back to what you're saying. This is a new West Ham. Like, everything about West Ham is new. Everything about West Ham is different. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that or want to expand on it, or.
If I'm honest, if you want me to be truthful, this is a new West Ham I'm seeing. I've never seen a West Ham like this in my lifetime. And the way I look at this now,
and how old West Ham tell us how old you are.
I'm 34, mate.
Okay, so you go back a ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be truthful when I say this. When I look at West Ham, if that would have been West Ham 2, 3, 4 years ago, we'd have lost that game.
Last season we'd have lost that game. 100% of the Pellegrini would lose that game. Yeah.
We would have come out, conceded the first goal, tried to attack, conceded another goal, and probably lost that game 3-1. I don't want to be negative, but we scored the goal at the right time. If we don't get a goal before them, I think we would have struggled against them because they were just coming on top of us. But in one way, I'm glad that if we've seen it now, so they can assess it for the Man United game. We got away with one. That's all I'm going to say. Like, we did get away with one with Leeds. We played well for 35 minutes and won the game in 35 minutes. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with James. I don't want to say it's negative, but I think that, with the behavior and how things have changed within the club, within the members of the team, we just expected more. And I think that we can hold ourselves to a higher level at this point. And it's not being negative per se. It's just that, we won. We didn't win in a pretty manner, but we can. And we need to improve upon it exactly for what James said. When we get against Man United Sunday, good. We worked out the kinks. We're ready to go. And this team very much reminds me, and I know some people may hate me for saying this, but the Philadelphia Eagles team, 2 years ago.
I hate you for saying that, Katie.
The team had the energy. They had the energy. They had the cohesiveness.
No,
and that's what I'm seeing with this West Ham team.
No, she's right. James, she is right. And I hate the only reason I hate it is because they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
We slayed the dragon.
And you did. And with Nick Foles at quarterback, which is, again, although he is a native Texan, so I'll give him that. But anyway, it is true. There is. Yeah, I'll tell you who else it reminds me of, Katie. It reminds me of the Giants teams that beat the Pats in the Super Bowl were kind of the same way. Nobody believes in us, underdogs. You know what I mean? Did you guys hear today? By the way, let me just say, if you think American sports radio is bad, and it is, TalkSport.
I know what you're going to say.
It is so bad. It is so bad. I know it's a West Ham fan who runs it, and I don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they're horrible. So who was this clown today, James, who was saying that if West Ham come fourth, it's not really Champions League with West Ham in Champions League. It's not Champions League.
It's disgusting, mate. Do you know what, though? I'm going to be honest with everyone here right now. It's actually doing us a favour because what it is, they're spurring us up. They're going, right, yes. Declan Rice is hearing that and he's going, you know what, see that, see Mourinho, see every other of these players, see these people, pundits who don't believe in us. And I think it's what we need. Like, it's what we need. Like, let them keep bringing it on and bringing it on and bringing it on, and then we'll just keep doing what we're doing and going that way. No one believes. I'll be truthful. Like, from England right now.
Yeah.
Every pundit, every news broadcaster thinks that West Ham don't get anywhere in the top six. They think Liverpool come through.
I know. Yeah.
And
they think if we do, we don't deserve it or shouldn't be there, right? I mean, that's the other thing that I hear.
Yeah.
Which is the perfect scenario for us. Like, David Moyes should be printing out those words and putting them on the front door of the training ground. When they walk through every single day, they should be reading those words every day.
Well, and I feel like, go ahead, James.
Sorry, but that is exactly what's happening. Declan Rice come on the radio the other week and he said, the reason why we beat Spurs is because Mourinho thought we weren't good. We won't compete in the top six. And they said, well, did you hear that? What Mourinho said? Now let's prove him wrong, and they go and win. That is exactly what's happening. If anything, the reverse is happening. Whereas years ago, when West Ham used to get pressure on them from the media, we used to fall apart. Can't win a game, can't score a goal, can't defend. Now, every time we get a bit of negative pressure or anything, or someone puts negativity on us that we can't finish in the top four, we seem to bounce back and we come back stronger. I got asked this on West Ham Fan TV, and they said to me, what do you reckon about the next certain amount of games? I said, take it game by game, cup game at a time. So I'd class it as a cup. Because if we do get top four, it's like winning the blooming cup. Because when you spent £6 million net spend, you've got to be realistic and say that's like winning a cup, basically. Yeah. So you've got to look at it like that. And the media over here are very biased towards the top six. And anyone else who's in there shouldn't be there
too, don't they? Don't they hate us, James?
Yeah.
They hate us. I know
very
they
much
do.
so, mate.
And I don't know why. Is that because of the? Go ahead, Sally. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's a combination of it's kind of like in the U.S., right, where you have your East Coast, West Coast bias kind of stuff. Your New Yorks, your Bostons, your LAs, your whatever.
So it's the guy in the middle in Colorado, right?
Right, but right, but at the same time, I think. It's one of those things to where West Ham haven't been the team in London, I guess since 2015. But I guess you kind of get a pass as far as like pundits are concerned in 2015 because it was a very important year for the club. Obviously, last year with the Bolin, but at the same time, I feel like with the game in hand on Chelsea and we're 2 points behind them right now.
Yes,
we have a chance. If we do finish top four. If we do finish top four, that we'll be the champions of London for the most part, unless Chelsea obviously overtakes somebody else.
Right.
But I mean, you think about it, even this top six talk, like Arsenal, not top six right now. They're not top six. Tottenham kind of flirting on not being there, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, it's like people don't like change, and I think a lot of it is like people in the UK know that West Ham is a big club, right? It's probably the biggest club that doesn't get recognition for being a big club, But,
I agree with in terms of fan support and overall sort of global support.
Right.
I think we are massive. Look at the fact that we're all sitting right here, like where we're sitting and talking about this. We are massive.
Yeah.
We're just not successful.
Well, West Ham's the 9th. If I got this right, I might be wrong, but I think I might have had this right. West Ham's the 9th club that's been in the Premier League the longest. That's since it started in
I know we're in the top 10. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's like 5 who've never been out of it, like Manchester United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Everton, I think, and Chelsea probably. And then there's a few that have been in the longer than we have. But in almost 30 years of the Premier League, we're like in the top 10 in terms of staying in the league. So, which is, I mean, given our history of going up and down historically, that's actually really good. But I think what Katie said about Philadelphia and about the Eagles, it makes a lot of sense because I do get that same vibe from us, that nobody believes in us type vibe, Now, the question is, for me, does that translate? Right now, as you said, James, every game is a cup tie. Every game is a cup final for us, basically, at this point. In my opinion, if we get Champions League, top 4, that's the biggest thing West Ham have done since at least 1980, with the last FA Cup win. And it's arguably one of the biggest things West Ham have ever done. We've never qualified for Champions League or the European Cup ever, and however many years that's been going on, decades. But I mean, does all the team spirit and everything else, can we actually go into Old Trafford and win? Can we actually beat an Arsenal team we always had trouble with? You can't drop points at this stage. You got to win. And I'm not sure if we're going to do that or not.
The one thing, Lee, that I will say, there's no pressure on us.
That's true.
There's no pressure on us to be there because we're not expected to be there. Right? If we just motor along, game by game, win by win, draw. Right? Let's be honest. The mentality should be, if we can go into game to win every game, we're going to win more than we lose. Do you know what I mean? And that's where it should be. And if we come out of it, let's be honest, if we finish in the top 6, we've had a great season. So. Like if we finish in the top 6,
the top 10 is a very good season for us.
Yeah. But if I'm honest, and I'll be truthful on what I'm saying to you now, this is the best chance we're ever going to get of top four, because them
I agree with
teams will get stronger next year.
Yep.
And they can go out, and I've said this on different platforms and different channels. They will go out, and where we might only spend money to buy 2 good top quality players, they will spend money on 5 and 6 top quality players, and
Of course
that's the difference.
It's like Manchester City's bench. Manchester City's bench is probably, a whole starting lineup for any other team. They have 550 million pounds on the bench alone. They played us. That's insane. But at the same time, kind of how we were talking about the other day. Sorry, John, I'll keep it short.
No, sorry, I'm sorry.
For Moya's scouting, you look at the players he's brought in, and I know we talked about this a little bit last week. He's getting players that put in shifts, and they're not for themselves; they're for the club. And I think it's unfortunate that we don't have fans in the stands right now, because that the vibe around the London Stadium before and after every game, especially since we have a pretty good home record right now, would be fantastic. But I mean, he's getting people that want to play for each other. Look at Jesse Lingard. He would have been the easiest one to he's going to come in and be about himself. But he came in, he fit right in with everybody, and I think that has a lot to do with the dressing room.
I think Jesse Lingard, I personally think, I know he can't play next week, which is unfortunate, but I think he loves West Ham. I mean, he put his daughter in the West Ham kit. That means, as we said last week, that means a lot. Did you guys see? And I won't play it because I don't want to get busted for copyright infringement again. But it's all over. It's all over because it's happened before. It's all over Twitter. There's a great clip where there's audio on the pitch, and when Dawson scores his header, Fornals runs over and calls him. What does he call him? Dawson Dino or something like that. Anyway, you can hear him yell it, and it's great because it's like that's a natural reaction. You know what I mean? And those are guys who are enjoying playing together. I'll see if I can find the tweet and put it in there.
How about him saving that goal as well? Like,
oh yeah,
how phenomenal! My jaw just dropped, and I was like, "Man of the match."
Oh, man of the match, without a doubt.
I'll be honest, he's been a revelation. He's been absolutely brilliant. I can't fault the geezer myself. Let's be honest here. If we go back to the start of the summer window, and we was going after Tarkowski for 35 million, and we end up picking up Dawson, we all looked at it and thought, right, that's an owner's buy. That's not David Moyes. That's not anyone else. You're going out to loan a Watford defender who's just been relegated, or you're going after James Tarkowski for 35 million. But I'll be honest with you, maybe that's probably one of the best signings I've ever seen up there. Like, as in a signing that we never see coming to blossom.
And we haven't even signed him yet. It's funny, James, because I was on the other day. Steve Mothersall posted something on Facebook about how Craig Dawson must be worth £20 million by now, and I said, but we're not selling. And then somebody came along and reminded me, we don't actually own him. He's on loan. I'd forgotten about that altogether.
Now, what it is, if he completes two more full appearances, we can buy him for 2.2 million.
Yes, and in fact, we have to. I think it's an obligation to buy, if we're not mistaken. Which 2.2 million for that player, who's legitimately looking at England right now, 2.2 million for him would be the signing of the season in any league in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's particularly in the Premier League. But it feels as though he's been here for years, and I think that's one of the things that I give Moyes a lot of credit for, is these guys come in and they just integrate right into the side. You know, Dawson comes in because Balbuena is out of form; he's injured, and then he has to pair with Diop because Ogbonna gets injured. You know, and we really don't miss a beat. We really don't miss a trick. Lingard comes in, as you said, Selly. You know, he could have been the guy people would look at and say, well, he's going to half-ass it here for however long he's here. You know, no, he comes in, he's fighting with the team. I mean, you know, as part of the team, to try to say he's integrated with the rest of the guys. Everybody's in it together, and I think you have to give Moyes a lot of credit for that, especially in a club where there's been turmoil because of the ownership and because of the fans. The biggest issue, the thing that I regret most or wish we could change, I would love for there to be fans at these games, because I think it would go a long way toward making the London Stadium a real home for us. And I know people miss the bullet, and I know they always will. I get that. I understand that. But a good team that wins at home can solve a lot of problems.
Lee,
Yeah.
I was just about to say what Mark in the chat has said there. Dawson's found a home at West Ham. There's
Yeah.
certain players that just end up being really good for certain clubs, and else they're not as good, or they come from somewhere else they didn't play as well. He just looks like a West Ham player. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, he
there's
does.
certain players where, and even managers. I think Moyes may be the epitome of that himself. Like, put him at West Ham, which is basically Everton South.
Yes, it always has been.
Very similar clubs, to be fair.
It always has been. Yeah.
And he's gonna do a pretty good job. So he's just got that about him, Dawson. I think that that's a great point about just how good he is, and the price point you cannot complain at all. That's
who
phenomenal.
Who among us thought Craig Dawson would be one of the best players in the team? When we signed Craig Dawson, or signed him on loan, I should say. Again, I keep forgetting he hasn't been here for like 10 years. When we signed Dawson on loan, I forgot he even signed. I forgot he was even with us. And it was
One thing I will say,
just a depth player. But then he's come out. He's like Jim Plunkett. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I will say, Lee, right? A lot of the players have played well in spells. Bowen played well at the start of the season, then Souček picked it up.
Yep.
Yeah, then Souček took over, then Kufals took over. Don't get me wrong, Dawson's been great, but my hammer of the year, if I was to pick hammer of the year right now, would be Kufal, because he don't give any more than a 7 out of 10 every game.
I think he'd be either Kufal or Souček. It'd be one of the Czechs.
Yeah,
because Lagana got injured, and that's kind of taken him out of the running. That's actually a good question. It's March. It's not stupid to ask this question. We have 11 games left. Katie, who's your hammer of the year right now?
Oh, Kufal. I'm in love with him.
I am too, if I'm honest.
Even on his day off, that is grit. That is the West Ham way. I love it. That he's forever.
They told him, his teammates told him, go home and spend more time with your family.
Your wife, yeah.
With your wife and kids, because he was coming on his day off. It's so funny, though. This is just a personal thing. Souček has at least one kid, maybe two. I don't remember. He's 20. He just turned 26. 26. I mean, my first kid wasn't born until I was 36. So I don't know. It's just funny to see him as a dad. I think of him as being like, I'm 47. I think of him as being like my age. He's 21 years younger than I am. But yeah,
I think it is, though, Lee. Do you know what I think it is? I think they appreciate the club. I think they've come from Slavia. Yeah, they've come from Slavia. They've come over to England. They've rehomed. They've brought their families with them. They've settled in, and I think they appreciate being at West Ham and what it means to the fans. I think, obviously, I spoke about me and Charlie had a little bit of a debate last week, and that's why I come on here, right, about Kufal. Sorry, but I have always said this. You take Man City, you take Liverpool out of it, maybe Chelsea, maybe Man United. He gets in every other team in the Premier League, in my eyes.
I think he does too.
I think he's top class.
There's something about Slavia. I mean, they have embraced us. At least they're whoever their admin is on Twitter loves us. And they've got the Czech ambassador to the UK, who's now posting about West Ham. He follows me on Twitter. He's now posting about West Ham like all the time. He's posting it. It's crazy. These guys are like their ambassadors or something. And I just love that there's this, this bond between the clubs now. And I hope it leads us to signing Sima in the summer, because that guy is amazing. That guy is incredible. I fear he's going to go someplace bigger, but So John, who would you say is your hammer of the year at the moment?
Oof, yeah, it's a tough one. Some good ones out there. Soufal's brilliant. Ogbonna's had a great season. Declan Rice is just so consistent and so good, and that leadership role is completely taken over.
Never misses a minute. Has not missed a minute until now, going on 2 seasons. Yeah, knock on wood, for God's sake.
He's world class, man. I can't describe how good Declan Rice is. He can do everything. He can do the defending. He can do the attacking. He can take players on. The way he moves the ball, the way he moves his body to create space for himself. We haven't seen a player like that at West Ham in a long time. He is that good.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the last time we see a player like that, John. I'll tell you the last time we see a player like that, and we might not even remember Bobby Moore, mate.
I wouldn't remember. I
Yeah, I know,
certainly
but what I
wouldn't
mean
remember.
is, if you was to see videos of
Even
Bobby
I'm not that
Moore,
old. Even I'm not that old. I'm
and
afraid. Yeah.
Well,
if you see Bobby Moore and you see Declan Rice, they're very fucking similar. Very similar.
the only player like in recent memory that I could almost compare him to, and you may even laugh at this, but Alex Song. When we got Alex
Oh, yeah.
Song,
Yeah.
he shows you what the next
player.
level looked like the
Yep.
next level player, and you just
Yep.
went, "Oh, he's good, isn't he?" You know, like he just had time. He always had time. Always had time, and we never saw that. So that the only one in recent memory would be him. But I just think Souček's goals have been so important for us that I have to give it to Souček, just because even though I think Rice is the most important player at West Ham, I think Souček's contributions potentially may be more important this season in where we are. I mean, overall, Declan Rice, but the goals have been, you know, they've been at the right times in the right matches, and
8 goals.
And that's
for
really-
The thing is, this year, you ask this question to anyone, everyone's going to have a different answer.
Yeah.
And I think that is the beauty that we are witnessing right now.
No, I agree with you, Katie. And you know, in the past, last season, it kind of came down to Antonio and Declan Rice, and maybe Ogbonna, because Antonio had that run at the end of the season. And I think Declan was a deserved winner, although I probably would have gone for Antonio, but that doesn't matter. Either way, it was fine. In years past, it's been obvious by February who the hammer of the year was going to be, barring an injury, of course. We've always known. You know, it was going to be Rob Green, or it was going to be Cresswell one season. It was Fabianski, I think, a couple of years ago. We've always known. This season, we don't know because we have so many players playing at such a high level. Sally, what about you?
Yeah, I got to give it to Souček for the reasons John was saying. You know, his goals have been important. He's all over the place. You know, obviously he can get back and defend. I know there was a circulating photo about his aerial duels won. It was like 115 going into the Leeds game.
Crazy, crazy. Yeah.
Incredible. But yeah, I mean, he's only played not technically, he's only played one less minute than Declan, and you know, we all know where that comes from.
Right, he got sent off by Mike Dean, who gave us a penalty on Monday. Mike Dean that was a makeup Mike Dean day for us, I think. Anyway, as long as it's all about Mike Dean, that's all he cares about.
Yeah, no, for me it's Souček, and kind of what Katie was saying, that it could be anybody. I feel like if Dawson starts from game one, his name is in there. You know, if he plays at this same level throughout the season, you know, I think you'd have to put him in there too.
I do too.
But yeah, for me right now, it would be Souček for sure.
So your hammer of the year is every single centre back at West Ham.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
and
kind
the ability of David Moyes to coach all these players up. Like, everybody has improved since David Moyes has been around. I mean, that is so visible, and especially the centre backs and the defence. I mean, that is brilliant.
I'll tell you one man who has improved under Moyes a second time round, Cresswell.
Oh, absolutely.
Cresswell was on his verge of being chucked out with Ogbonna a few years ago, right? Because they both, especially over here, not a lot of people have said had any time for Ogbonna or Cresswell. They both said, you know what, they're both just not doing it. But Ogbonna's been one of our best defenders, and I'll be honest with you, Cresswell, when you're getting 6-7 assists so far this season from being a left back, I know he takes corners, but he does also do assists in play and all. So,
sure he does, yeah.
He's been brilliant. Yeah, he's been another one who's been a shining light in the team.
And it makes me happy because all last season I kind of grieved for the form of Aaron Cresswell, because I like Cresswell and I've always liked him. He's been around a long time. Like everybody else last season, I thought he's done. He's 30. He's hit a wall. You know what I mean? He's done. And it made me sad because I like him as a West Ham player, but he had a horrible season last season. We all know it. You know, this season, Moyes puts Masuaku in with him on the left side, gives him a little help, and it's like it gave him the confidence he needed. Now the guy is a superb left back, and as you said, James, he's creating chances. He's one of the I think his assist numbers are among the top in the Premier League. And yeah, I know corners are part of that, but you got to take a good corner. You know what I mean? How many good corner takers have we had over the years?
At the same time, Lee, they're playing to his strengths, right? So
yes,
my
exactly.
my complaint about Cresswell over the last few years is, for the life of him, he cannot beat a man and get a ball in once you get past the 18-yard line. Like once he's past that line, outside the box, not inside the box, but he can't take a player on. His best delivery is always before the 18-yard box and somewhere in that left side. So they're not letting him run past the 18-yard box now. Somebody else is doing it and dropping the ball back to him, and he's swinging it in. And that is, that's perfect for him.
I don't know about whether you'd agree or not, but since Anderson's left and Fornals is there helping him out.
Who left?
And Anderson. I know.
I'm just joking. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And since he's left, because he didn't used to do any work on that left-hand side. He didn't do anything. And since like Fornals has gone there, Souček's gone there, Rice has gone there, Cresswell's had a bit of cover there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to keep. I'm not going to praise him up to this.
I agree with you. No, he has. Charlie Boy talks about this all the time. He's going to come say it in the chat here in just a minute. Charlie Boy says this every week that that we had Masuaku come in and cover for Cresswell. We've had Fornals do the same thing because Fornals will. That's one of the reasons why I think we've seen more Fornals than Rama, because Fornals will track back in a way that Benrahma won't or can't or doesn't know how to do. So Cresswell's had some help, but I mean, where the guy went from being a liability to being an asset. Do you know what I mean? I think anyway. If you guys want to go on the show with Nipun, let him know somehow, somewhere in the chat room, I guess. I don't know if I can do this, but anybody who wants to do this, West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal, go in and, if you could stand to be with a Tottenham and Arsenal fan, I don't know if I can do that for more than a few minutes.
I love you, Nipun, but no.
I was going to say, I don't know if I can do that very long. I actually have some, Nipun, it's nothing to do with you. It's nothing personal, my friend, but I hate Chelsea, desperately hate Chelsea. But let me just say this. I do have friends who are Chelsea fans, and they're good people, and I like them. Really good, close friends. So I can handle Chelsea. Tottenham and Arsenal, oh, man. They just, I guess they've been a little bit humbled this season, but they generally think they are God's gift. I mean, they are so full of themselves. And anyway, they have like the least passionate fan base. Now I've kind of lost I've totally lost my train of thought there for a minute. But anyway, so James, who's your hammer of the year? Did you tell us? I can't remember if you told us.
There's so many, mate. Only really there is. Obviously, Souček for the goals, for what his work rate and what he brings going forward. I like Kafal myself. I think Kafal's a breath of fresh air. Going back a long time ago, I've never seen a right back as good. People used to comment in the comments last week and said about Glenn Johnson, but Glenn Johnson was with us for 6 months. That was. I mean,
and they,
Wait, you can't go down the road there and say
he made like 20. He made like 20 appearances or something like that, I think.
Yeah, and so to me, it's got to be Kafal. I think what he brings passion and heart, and what we need, a bit of skullfuggery in our defence. West Ham's always been known for being soft at the back. Like we concede sloppy goals. As always, we will score goals wherever we go, but we will concede goals wherever we go at all, and that is the problem. But yeah, Kafal for me, first class.
I love Kafal. I think the guy. I mean, first of all, he's like Dawson. He was like an add-on who came into the club. Souček was like, "Oh, we should sign my buddy from Slavia." You know what I mean? Like, it's not like West Ham went out and scouted him. Souček was just like, "Oh, you might want to pick this guy up, few mil, whatever, just sign him." We go out and sign him. It's like he's like an afterthought, and he turns out to be this fantastic right back. I think one of the best of the Premier League. Also, the dude got down on his knees and cried when we lost to Manchester City. I mean, got down on his knees and cried on the pitch. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't love that, then just don't watch sports. All right. If you don't love that scene, if you don't love that moment when your guy gives it everything he has against the best team in the world, at least at that moment, the best team in the world. And, we have a narrow loss away from home and it's too much for him to handle. If you don't like that, if you don't like that guy, just log off. You know what I mean? Because that got me. That really did.
It's just going to show just how much it means to everybody this season. Obviously, you can't really hide the fact that, the club is where they are, sitting in fifth, 2 points out of fourth, stuff like that. And you can honestly make, a little sneaky run into third and possibly even second. But, I think that kind of like what we were saying earlier, everybody plays for themselves. I think, Sufal is just kind of a representation of what everybody, kind of felt at that point, because we should have gotten something out of that game. And honestly, every time I see Liverpool lose, it hurts my heart.
It kills me.
At least once.
And
I feel like that was the game. And honestly, I think out of all the games this year, I think that second loss to Liverpool probably was like a big reason into why we're playing that well now. I mean, I know it wasn't that long ago, but Liverpool, they were there for the taking, and literally the next two home games after we were there, they lost to Burnley and Brighton. Two teams that we've beaten. Well, I guess maybe not Brighton, but it was just to show that we gave that one away because we were intimidated by the name. We were intimidated by the brand. It had nothing to do with who they had on the pitch.
Absolutely. And it's one of the few times I think Moyes has kind of gotten it wrong in his approach. Not necessarily his tactics, his approach to the game.
Yeah.
He went into that game saying, we can't hang with them. We're not good enough. And then it turned out to be true. And I noticed he didn't do that against Manchester City. You know what I mean? He respected the opponent, but he didn't go in with his attitude like, well, we're just gonna concede this.
I think what changed that, Ole, was the Spurs home game.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I think as soon as he got that win against the top six opponent, and I don't like to say that
he had never beaten Mourinho in his career up until then.
Yeah, and I think that's what done it. He sort of realised, he thought, you know what, these teams are beatable with the team I've got. Like, I think he doubted the team a little bit. I agree with what the gentleman said there. At the end of the day, against Liverpool, we just were scared to go forward because we was always like worried about losing. But I think I just want to ask this to everyone: why do you think West Ham's got better though? What do you think? Because it's different. You think about it, this time last year was fighting relegation. Relegation.
We stared into the abyss, James. Remember how the season shut down? We were sitting there in 17th, I think, 16th, 17th, something like that. And there was the whole question of like, will the season go on? Karen Brady was trying to get it null and voided, remember? Because she was like, just get us out of here. And then there was a question of like, are we going to go on points per game, which would have kept us up? Points per game weighted home and away, which would have sent us down. That's how I got my stupid Twitter addiction. I never looked at Twitter until every day I was on Twitter trying to figure out, is the season going to happen or not happen? And then I it's like, now I got to have that, I don't know. We should go around and ask this one. Katie, what do you think? Well, what do you think has been the difference this year to last season?
So I think that there was just a lot of non-respect for Pellegrini. I think the locker room got sour. And I think just with Moyes coming back in and making improvements, we knew that he was a good practice coach, that he could work on things and build a solid unit with, what we saw at Everton. So I think we knew he had the capability, but because things have been ripped away and, attitudes had just changed, I think that was a little bit of a struggle. And just, we started to pick things up at the end of the season last year once we restarted. Right. And I think the momentum has just really kept us going, and then in addition to that, him adding players that can supplement where we need it in certain areas and, provide those solutions. I think in general, we've improved just as a unit and supporting one another. And he's really been the driving factor behind that.
I think he has.
But do you think though, I agree with what Katie was saying there, but there's one man that I think has changed the complete aspect of this club, and that's Declan Rice. I think when Mark Noble's captain, I love Mark Noble, but Declan Rice is a world-class footballer, as John said. John is right. He's 100% a world-class footballer. And with world-class footballers, they can attract decent players.
Yeah.
And
he's also, we talk about this every week, I think, but it's still true. I love Mark Noble. We all love Mark Noble for what he's given the club. Declan Rice is a different class of captain. He's more of a leader. He doesn't let the team's shoulders slump when we concede. He keeps everybody sharp. He does less with the theatrics. We all love when Noble goes over and butts heads with Paul Pogba, carries Andre Ferreira off the pitch. But you know what? Sometimes that stuff is distracting and it's not always necessary. Okay, it's fun for the fans, but Declan Rice is a guy who makes everything look easy and he keeps everybody at ease, while at the same time keeping everybody at a really high level. But I'll tell you, Katie, you talk about the restart. I mean, whatever happens this season, I go back to Chelsea last season after the restart as the game that changed everything for me. Yarmolenko's
100%.
goal to win that. We had lost to Wolves, we had lost to Spurs, we were down and out. That performance, we went behind, if you remember. We came back, we battled, and the Yarmolenko's goal right at the end, that launched everything. And I know we've been a little bit up and down since then, but for generally speaking, our form has been excellent since that game, and I think that game changed everything. And I think Moyes had a lot to do with that. I don't know. What do you think, John? Where do you think the big improvement has come from?
Let me cast your minds back to the ghost of Christmas past when John was talking about West Ham a year ago. And that was, we were underperforming, and we underperformed for so
Correct.
long.
And you said this over and over again. You said this over and over again. Yep.
Yeah, we conspired to
Sabotaged
lose
ourselves.
matches that we should not be losing. We underperformed. We gave goals away that shouldn't have been given away. We gave leads away that shouldn't have been given away. It was one of the most ridiculous seasons I've ever seen. And that's speaking as a West Ham supporter, which we've seen plenty of ridiculous seasons. But to actually give games away that we shouldn't have given away was one step beyond what we're normally used to. We're used to losing, but just fucking up for the sake of it is something completely different.
Brighton, John. I mean,
it was absurd, and the managerial decisions were absurd as well. And don't get me wrong, but I think that entire team, every single player played below their average capability. So that already gives us half a boost. If they only played to their average, we should be, at least last season, finishing anywhere from 12th to 8th.
You said all last season that we were playing below our potential. You said that if we played to our potential, we're a mid-table club, and I think we were last season a mid-table club if we played to our potential. I think
that brings us to today, right? So I think we had a mid-table squad going into this season, and I think
let's not forget Roberto. Let's not forget Roberto in goal.
Thankfully, he's out the door.
I agree. We'd like to forget him. I had actually forgotten about him until you brought it back up. Thank you, James.
But even who could have predicted that as well? I mean, even with West Ham's misfortune throughout the years, you couldn't predict that we would have the only Premier League goalkeeper I can remember that punches a ball into his own net. I mean, it's just fucking absurd.
I have seriously watched goalkeepers play, John, at the third, fourth tier of American soccer, we'll call it, and they're better than. I mean, we had a guy named Sam Manning. I'll tell you what. When we had Greater Lowell, Tim will tell you about Sam Manning. That guy was good. I mean, listen, Roberto was as big a disaster as I've ever seen. So yes, that was a big part of it, James. I agree. Sally, what do you think? Oh, go ahead, John. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I just want to. So now we're average. We've gotten to average. So I just want to get to the next bit. How did we get good? So you've got your average, and I agree on a couple of points. I think Declan Rice sets the tone. I think.
Nobody understood how he played the Premier League. That's why it was misunderstood.
And I really think the additions that we brought in helped set the tone. They set the standard. Yeah. Like you were talking about Soufal earlier, he's there on days off when he's not supposed to be. Souček is coming in and setting a standard. These are players that have played in the Champions League. They know what it takes to get to that level, and everybody around them is doing the same thing. They're looking at it going, this is what it takes. Yeah. So between them lads, Declan Rice, I think Mark Noble's still playing a part behind the scenes. I think he's very much invested in how this club is doing.
Too. And I think he's working with
staff, Kevin Nolan. I think Alan Irvine, all of them are all playing a big part. And David Moyes, I mean, I think is maybe the biggest piece. Like I said before, you can see the improvement in players under David Moyes. You can see that they've taken a step forward. They're not still where they were a year ago. So obviously what he's doing behind the scenes is coaching players up.
Yep.
He's not just telling them what to do and where to play and what positions to play.
He's making them better. And John, you're a college football fan. You know how this goes, right? A good coach can take a bunch of middling recruits and turn them into champions. You know what I mean? You don't have to have the best raw material. Now, if you're Manchester City, that's you're on a different stratosphere. But you don't have to have the best raw material. You can have good players and make them great. And I think that's what Moyes has been doing.
That's how Wisconsin survived for the last 50, 100 years. I mean,
that's how my alma mater. Listen, that's
they've
how
been taking those walk-ons for decades and turning them into big beasts that go on to the NFL. So
that's how TCU won the Rose Bowl and finished in the top 5 a bunch of times. A bunch of 2- and 3-star recruits from nobody else wanted, and they turned them into great players. So I don't know, Sully, what do you think about our improvement over the last calendar year, more or less?
I think you got all the ego out the door. Anderson being gone. I think he was kind of a cancer.
He was a cancer. I'm sorry, he was a cancer. He was. Who else was? I think Sebastian Haller, maybe a little bit.
I don't know if he was necessarily a cancer. I was thinking about this the other day, kind of watching
it may be unfair.
Watching this game. I still do think that a lot of his lack of production was because the distribution wasn't great. I think if you put Haller with Fornals, Benrahma, and
clearly,
Lingard behind him, I think he
right,
probably is up there. But
absolutely
because
right.
the dude's an excellent player.
Yeah. He was in a bad system. It was a bad system for him. Yeah.
But I don't think he was a cancer. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he was. But at the same time,
I thought he could have worked harder, but that's okay. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Anderson being out, I think. And who else? There. Ngakia, him being gone probably helps. Because he obviously didn't want to be there.
He didn't want to be there. Yep.
But I mean, it's just there's no ego in there. Like I kind of been repeating myself. There's everybody's playing for each other.
It's too much.
So so I think that's a big part, and that's probably the biggest part. Because, like you said, you look at the restart, we had some great results. Not only was the Chelsea result great, but we beat teams that we were nervous about beating. We beat Watford when we needed to beat them. We beat Norwich when we needed to beat them, and I know there's one other club I can't think of in the moment, but all that rough start, with Roberto and the injuries and all that stuff, and we still survived. Obviously with Moyes coming in, but I think I think it goes to say a lot that Moyes has saved this club from relegation 2 times.
Absolutely, and I thought we should have kept him the first time. I was for giving him another contract when he saved us the first time. But, Sullivan wanted a big name. He brought in Pellegrini. We had a good season, right? And then it fell off a cliff the way things often do. Okay, cancer may have been a strong word for Sebastian. All right, so I take that back. I actually
Arnautovic was the cancer.
Arnautovic was the cancer. His brother was the cancer. Haller was somebody who didn't fit our system. So I'm sorry, Sebastian. Je suis désolé. Okay, I went a little. I was too hard on you there, buddy. But anyway. All right, so not a cancer, more of just somebody who didn't fit. Fair enough. I'm sure he's watching, of course. Everybody, all the players watch this, as you know. Yeah, I mean, so James, you mentioned Declan. I mean, what else have you seen that you think has turned us around?
Well, 14 months ago, we signed Bowen and Souček. So let's all roll back to January 2020, and we signed them too. And I think they have changed the mentality. Obviously, I will say this. I do think that
she's got to look. She doesn't look. She's got to look. Jess says he likes her hair color.
Thanks, Jess.
Anyway,
yeah, I do think that Declan, as a captain, is a completely different captain to Noble, and I just think he's a born winner. You don't, when you see his interviews, the way he conducts himself.
Absolutely,
it proved it. It proved it last week against Man City. We lose against Man City. The first words that come out of his mouth is, "We ain't going to let this slip." Now, we're disappointed today, but we're going to move on and we're going to go to Leeds and we're going to win. But
see, I was right. I was right. See, thank you, Trevor. I was right. He is a cancer.
Tebow.
Thank you, Tebow. Always got my back. Sorry, go ahead, James. Sorry.
But,
I do this all the time.
But would I say we've improved this year? We've improved massively, but we've signed well. Let's remember that we've signed Benrahma, we've signed Kufal, we've signed Dawson, and all our signings have worked all at once. And whether that's a stroke of luck or basically good management, then that's what I think. it'd be interesting to see how we go about in the summer, because obviously in the summer, this summer will be massive for us as a club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Yes.
like,
Yes. I agree.
do we step up? Do we step up to the next level, or do we go back to being the same West Ham of being a mid-table team again? It is
Because
massive.
James, you've been around long enough to know every
Mm.
time we have a successful season, we fail to follow it up. And you can go back. I mean, listen, this goes back to before my time as a West Ham fan, but 1986 finished third. 87 did not press on, did not follow it up, did not strengthen the squad. 2 seasons later, West Ham are relegated, right? 89, I think it was. And then they bounce up and down for several years. You can go back to, Harry Redknapp had a great season at one point, one of those DiCanio seasons. Within a couple of years after that, down again. 2003, down again. You have the last season at the Bolin, right? The Payet season. We don't, obviously Payet leaves. We don't, build around him. And again, another relegation battle. You just go anytime you've had any kind of relative success, let's say finishing even in the top 10, the next season it drops off a cliff. We cannot have that happen this time. We have to.
It's going to prove it.
January for that.
What'd you say, John? Sorry.
Yeah.
So you can go back to January for that. You don't have to go that far back.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's good. It's good. It's a valid point. Yeah,
it's going to prove it. It's going to prove it in the summer. Like as we're all West Ham fans here, it's going to prove it in the summer whether this bold, not the fans, because all the fans are ambitious, right? The players are ambitious. Is the board ambitious? That is the $1 million question.
Yeah,
if you're going to ask yourself.
What Jazz is bringing up here is a really good point, actually. We just took out. I say we. The club just took out. Sullivan Gold Brady just took out a large loan from Michael Dell, of all people. Dell Computer, Michael Dell, a Texan, by the way. He's down near Austin, but he has some sort of wealth management group. It's called MSD, something like that. It's just his initials. And they've taken £150 million loan, I think it was. I'd have to look that up and confirm it, but I'm pretty sure it's £150 million loan off of Michael Dell. They've taken £25 million, £35 million loans here and there off of other sources. The financial results that came out recently were, not great, which is not a surprise. But I mean, the financial state of the club seems iffy to me at best. And we know COVID has had an impact on that. On the other hand, we still get the Premier League TV deal. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of money. That's where most of the money really comes from. It doesn't really come from selling merchandise or, tickets. It comes from the TV deal. And they managed to not be able to spend that wisely either. So to answer Nippon's question, yes, originally, yes. I have not lived there in many years, but yes, originally from Dallas.
Lee, I'm going to scoot, but
yes, Katie has a lot of
tomorrow night.
Katie has to study and do important things. So listen, I so appreciate you being on here. We had such a good time with you on here.
Awesome. Have a good night, guys.
Who's on with you tomorrow? Who's on with you tomorrow? Who's on with you tomorrow? Do you know?
A special guest out of Las Vegas. That's all I'll say.
I think I might know who it is. Okay. All right. That's worth watching.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Katie. We'll talk to you soon. Awesome to have Katie on here. I haven't talked to Katie in a long time. So I mean, there's the financial condition of the club to talk about, which is, it's kind of not great. And I don't know, you're going to hear the same thing. Okay, this summer that we've always heard, we're going to have to sell Dubai, we're going to sell Nzidi, we're going to have to sell Balbuena, and obviously we probably will buy Dawson because I think we'll be obligated to, and there'd be no reason not to. Lingard to me is the question, and then you have questions like, I mean, does somebody swoop in for Souček? Why not? The guy's a star. Can we hang on? I think he likes West Ham. I think he's happy here. But I mean, can we hang on to him if Liverpool step in? A top 6 club. I don't know.
The thing is, though, Lee, why are we in a financial state? We shouldn't be.
I know we shouldn't be, James. It's because we're run by a bunch of idiots who are skimming off the top of the club, as far as I'm concerned.
When you're in a stadium that you've got a 100-year lease on, right, and you're renting that stadium for you know what I mean? You shouldn't be skinned. And the way I look at it is with that, is I know COVID's hit us, but it's hit every club. It ain't just hit us. So every club's suffering. All the big clubs are suffering. Yeah,
yes, of course.
Manchester United are the biggest club in world football. Like if we go to the UK, looking at it, Manchester United are the biggest club worldwide for their branding and the way they come across. They've been hit by a lot of like the financial side of it. West Ham shouldn't be. West Ham can go out and go and sign 2, 3, 4 players that we need. It's
Right.
It's not so much. It's not so much that we're skinned. It's the fact that our ownership are tight.
Our ownership. I mean, I think listen. I don't want to make accusations I can't back up. Okay.
Mm.
So I'm just going to say, in my own personal opinion, I think they're criminals. I really do. I nothing. I applied the Bill Clinton rule with David Sullivan. Okay, anything you say to me about Bill Clinton, I will believe. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you tell me any story about that guy, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably true. He's capable of any level of, whether it's evil or good, or you know what I mean. There's nothing I wouldn't believe about him. David Sullivan, I'm kind of the same way. You can tell me anything, I'd be like, yeah, that's plausible. I believe that. So I think the guy is crooked. I think he's always been crooked. I think he comes from a crooked industry. I don't think he's ever changed his ways. And, I personally think they're probably stealing from the club in some way or another. And I think that's the biggest thing that's going to, that's going to hold us back is the fact that it's not just the fact that we don't have billionaires owning us, right? It doesn't have to be Qataris or whatever. It's the fact that our owners are actively like damaging the club, or at least seem to be.
If you want me to be honest, if you want me to be truthfully honest about the owners,
no, I want you to lie to me. Lie to me, James. Lie to me.
I wish I could. I wish I could say they was going to spend 200 million, but I'll definitely be lying there. If you want me to be truthfully honest, I think they took us as far as they can as owners.
Oh yeah,
no, absolutely.
Yeah, farther than I ever expected.
In fact, Champions League could be the best thing for West Ham, not from a on the pitch perspective, but from an off the pitch perspective. They've been looking for investors for years.
Yes,
this is the opportunity. If we ended up in the top 4 to go, come and do 200 million, stick 200 million, stick 150 million into our club. That will give you a percentage now, and then you can come buy us in a couple of years. That may get somebody in a bit earlier. I don't know. I don't know enough about the money side of the game, to be honest. I mean, I don't know enough about
I don't either.
the game, to be honest. But, like if I look at it that way and just, it kind of seems to reason that you may be able to attract that investment a little bit earlier than waiting for that 2023 date that we're all kind of waiting for. So,
well, when it comes down to Champions League, I think, it could benefit us in the same aspect, John, that you were saying about the owners, but I think it could also benefit us for the players in the aspect of I don't think Souček is going to go anywhere this year, regardless of where we finish. But I
agree with you.
I think there's more incentive for him to stay. There's obviously more incentive for Rice to stay, especially if we finish ahead of Chelsea. Which I think everybody would agree that's probably the only place that he's going to go. Maybe United.
Although they say they don't want him because they're embarrassed to go back after they let him.
Can I say something about Souček when people say about him leaving? Right. Yeah. He was at a Champions League club.
Right. He came here. Yeah.
And he's come here.
Well, that's true. I mean, that is true. They're multiple champions of Czech Republic, and they will be again this season. So, yeah.
Yeah. Fans love him.
I can't see him leaving.
Me either.
I just can't see it. Like, he's got his best mate with him. Why would he want to go? Like,
I agree. He came to play in the Premier League, and I think unless it's another player, because there's talk of, is it Real or Barca? I think it was Real. There's talk of, he ain't going to Spain. If he was going to go anywhere, he'd stay in the Premier League. I think he wants to be in the Premier League, and for right now, he wants to be at West Ham. And right now, there's not a lot of teams above us that who would you consider?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Same thing with Declan Rice. Who would you actually consider? Unless you're looking at 5 years from now, 3 years from now, if our owners don't pour investment in. I mean, now it's statement time. Yeah. Put your money where your mouth is. Build the team around Declan Rice. Build it around Thomas Souček. Now's the time. You're not going to find a better time. You're not going to find a better time to double the worth of this club.
That's true.
Because don't forget, we don't have any assets. Our assets are our players. Go and build that team around them too, and make it a team that wants to challenge for Europe and trophies, at least for the
That's
next
why
3
we have
seasons.
we have to hang on to Declan Rice at absolutely all costs, in my opinion. I don't care what
Well-
Charlie Walsh says. I love Charlie, but he's wrong about wanting to sell Declan. I think he's the one who said that. Anyway,
I think a lot of that too. Look at the clubs that Declan or Suchek could be linked to.
yeah,
I think like half of them are probably going to have a new manager by the time next season starts. Chelsea got a new manager now, and they're doing decent. But United might not still have Ollie at the end of the season. Mourinho might not even make it till the end of the season. If they don't make any kind of cup final or top four finish. So I think what you kind of know what you already have here. With your manager in place. You're
That's
going
right.
to have
That's
a
right.
lot of the team still
Absolutely
there.
right. Yep.
And I think there's still just a couple of spots, that we need to go after, backup striker, maybe a left back, and a couple and somebody to, give Declan and Suchek a day off. You need those guys. But at the same time, I mean, what do other clubs right now have that we don't?
I'll tell you, Sally, your point about a manager is excellent because, Mourinho may be in trouble. And I know their form has turned around a little bit, but they have high expectations that they're not meeting right now, especially with a manager like that. They're spending a lot of money on him. There's whispers about Jurgen Klopp, for heaven's sake, coming off of Premier. He's won Champions League at Liverpool. He's won the Premier League.
Anywhere.
I know
he's bailed out by the injuries.
Well, he's bailed out by the injuries, and that'd be insane to sack him. By the way, that'd be the dumbest thing Liverpool's ever done.
I agree.
mean, listen, I don't like Liverpool, but that guy's a tremendous manager. He just is.
Sure.
He's absolutely world class. But there's whispers about him, which let him whisper. You know what I mean? We have a manager in place who I should sign a new deal soon, I think and hope. And when he does,
he's got a 1-year extension, hasn't he? He has got a 1-year extension.
He has got a 1-year extension
in place.
When I think we can pitch David Moyes as a competent manager who is going to be here for as long as he wants to be here. And, as Sally said, that is a selling point for West Ham right now. Come to a club, believe it or not, we actually look stable compared to a lot of other clubs at the moment, which is insane to think about. But we do.
Moyes made Declan captain too.
Moyes made Declan captain. Moyes has, brought through Ben Johnson, who's a young player. Moyes made a 21-year-old captain. He has not been shy about getting some of the kids involved here and there. He had Odebeko play against Manchester United, which was not maybe a great appearance, but I mean, nevertheless, he put him in there. He's gotten, he's had Nathan Trott on the bench a couple of times here and there, and I know he's unlikely to play, but he's getting these guys involved with the first team. I think I think as a club, the biggest thing and the most important thing we can do right now is put all of our faith and trust in David Moyes, because I think he is the manager to carry us forward.
Handing the keys from the academy all the way up.
Absolutely. I don't even think we need a director of football. Just let this guy run the show. Let him be Bill Belichick. Let him run the show.
I think what he's doing very well. I think what he has done very, very well is his backroom staff are very tight knit unit. All right, you got Stuart Pearce there, Alan Irvine, Kevin Noland, and I honestly believe what John said earlier about Noland. Nolan's going back there and being more of a coach.
Oh yeah,
like advising the team. Right, I think he comes on. He's going to be like a part-time player. He'll come on for 10 minutes, do a job, but he'll be advising the youngsters.
You mean Noble? You mean Noble?
Yeah, Noble. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think he's going to be like a part-time player, but why he's there now and he's still playing, he's going to be like a coach type thing, like getting into the players.
Tottenham, by the way, they put in, it's really not all that close. Just to be honest. I think you're right. And I wanted to talk about that because we can't really talk about West Ham without acknowledging Mark Noble's letter. I'm just going to say something that's going to sound awful, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it anyway. I love Mark Noble, okay? Somebody helped him write that letter because I have heard this guy speak and I've read his tweets, and he's not Hemingway, all right? When it comes to his the way he expresses himself. Anyway, regardless, I'm sure the feelings are all his. You know what I mean? I'm sure the sentiment is all his. I love the fact that he did it this time of the season. No drama. Let's just, talk about it now. Didn't make it all about himself, which he never does. It's all about the club. It's always been all about the club with him. And I think it's appropriate he comes back for another season. I think you're right, James. That's what he's going to do. He's moving into like the role Kevin Nolan is in now, and he'll come on. He'll play, he'll play 10, 15 minutes in a substitute's role from time to time. He'll be an emergency starter if, God forbid, he has to be. Oh, sorry, but that whole thought is terrifying. But I mean, he'll do what the club needs him to do. And I think we need more of that. Yeah.
He's going to be like how Ryan Giggs was for Manchester United. Somebody who, been there forever, knows the club, knows the fan base, kind of has his finger on the pulse, if you will. And he has the ear of the locker room, and that's what Ryan Giggs did. I don't think there's necessarily a case where he comes in and he steps in as manager for a handful of games. But at the same time, I think that's a perfect role. Plus, I think for him, and I was talking to Gary about this earlier, I think why would he want his last season to not be in front of the fans?
Oh, he totally does. Absolutely, he does, Sully. I mean, I think that's a huge reason why he's coming back. Huge reason why he's coming back.
I think another reason, although, I think he's seen the club in good hands now. I think that's what's done it and all. I think Mark's, like, as I speak, like, from a fan about Mark's been through the rough and tumble at West Ham. And I think now he's finally seen us going in the right direction as a club. And basically thought, you know what, it's time to step away now. Yeah. He's given us a year to find a replacement for Mark Noble, and that is basically what he's doing. He's saying, you know what, I'm going to give it one more year. It's down to the owners and the managers to find a replacement for me in the future. Now, do you know what I mean? So when he walks away next year, he can walk away knowing that he's done his best. But I think he's been first class for us, mate. He's been a good player. But he's been a good servant, and that man's loyalty can never be questioned at West Ham.
Yeah. I got a few things about Noble. Lee, I agree with you. Somebody definitely wrote that for him as somebody that writes things.
Which is appropriate. I do that. I am a ghostwriter myself. I've done that for years.
But here's the cheeky thing, Lee. I think they left just enough authenticity in it to try and make it sound like it was him. Like, it was a bit too much. And they do the same thing with his articles in London Evening Standard as well. You see the same stuff where they try and make it very common man speak, and it's a bit too much. It's a bit over the top. I don't know. But anyway.
A little too EastEnders.
Fantastic servant.
Yeah.
Player, really. Mark Noble shone when he had good players around him. And that Payet season especially, when he had very good players around him, I think was one of the best seasons I ever saw Mark Noble. I think he's an intuitive player that makes the simple stuff look really simple. He does that very, very well. I think he's got an eye for a pass, and he could have been used a lot more creatively if we had better players around him for a lot of the time. So I've done my complaining about Noble over the years. He doesn't have pace. Everybody knows that. But I mean, he's just a very intelligent player that I don't think gets enough credit for that side of his game, as he probably should. And he would have slotted in. I know there was some interest from Arsenal back in the day, or at least it was in the papers that may have been interest.
Right.
He would have slotted into an Arsenal team, and I think been quite an exceptional player, to be honest, because having those other players that like playing quick, intelligent balls would have benefited his game. But he stuck it out. He's loyal. He's West Ham through and through. And he grew up
down the street from the Berlin. He's a local lad. He's he's James's neighbor.
Could be the last of his kind. But to James's point, right? So Mark Noble waiting until the club's in a position for him to move on. What does that say about Declan Rice? That to me tells me that he's not a temporary captain, and I don't think you take that at a club if you're only going to give it a year. So if James is right, and I think he is, I think that bodes really well for us. So unless we do a West Ham and completely fuck it up and just don't match Declan Rice's ambitions, or at least look as if we're trying to match his ambitions, that's the only way he moves on from West Ham, I think. So as long as we're trying to push for Europe, we're trying to surround him with players of his caliber, we're trying to do the right things. I think we got Deck at least for another 2-3 years.
That's why this summer is huge.
I agree with John there. I do agree with John. Sorry, Lee, I've just got to say this.
No,
I agree with John. Everything what John just said there. But I think with Declan, the difference between Declan and Mark is I think Declan can attract top quality players to the club. I don't think Mark Noble ever could.
No,
really. I think
he's not at
there
that
was a
level.
couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at how can I put this? When you look at Mark Noble as a player, good pass with the ball, good on the ball. When you look at Declan Rice, as John said earlier, and I make him 100% right, and I've had people say, no, he's not world class. That boy is a world class footballer, Declan Rice. Box to
Declan
box.
Rice. Look, he's established in the England side. There's no question he's world class. There's no, just watch the man play. He makes it look easy, and the great players make it look easy, and that's what he does. He makes it look easy.
Yeah.
And he's everywhere. Everywhere you look, there he is, popping up everywhere.
If,
you know what I mean?
Declan played on one of the bigger clubs, he would be talked about as probably one of the better center backs, or not center backs, but center defense mids in the entire world.
Absolutely, he would.
You know, and
No
I don't think
question
that's
about
really
it.
too hard to say. But
Put him in a
one
red
thing,
shirt. Put him in a red shirt, Selly, and they won't be able to stop drooling over him.
And with Mark Noble, I think it'll be really interesting to see. And I'm sure you have some fans who might be rooting for the success of West Ham this season, specifically for Mark. But think about it in terms of like he's played in the Championship, Premier League, Europa, and he's had varying amounts of success at every level. I think. Honestly, like the one last thing that he hasn't done is play in the Champions League, and granted, I'm not going to say that, that's where we're going to finish, but if we do, I think that'd be, what a hell of a send off that would be, even if we don't make it out of the group stage, at least Mark can be like, well, I've been there, done that. I heard the music, you would like to imagine that we have some type of fan base at the games, both home and away. Cause we're going to travel. It don't matter where it's at. You got a soccer ball on a pitch. West Ham
Champions League final, Sally. You got Noble walking out. Champions League final.
Yeah, tell me who has a dry eye seeing that happen. Nobody.
Oh, you joking? You'd have to revive me. I would have passed out by then already, and not from drinking, just from just from love. But,
yeah. So I mean, it'd be nice to see Mark Noble do that. Obviously, he is definitely kind of James's point. He's the last of a dying breed. Or players who are just faithful to just one club forever.
I think a dead breed. I don't think it's even dying. I'm not
No. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. And I mean, because you kind of look at it too. Like, look at, well, I don't know if it's the best example, and it probably is actually a terrible example. But like, look at Wayne Rooney. Look at how many clubs he's played for. Not necessarily to include England or not England, but Everton, because a lot of great talent moves on from their first club.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess Ronaldo, look at him. He could have been staying at Manchester United.
I think what it is with Noble, when we look at Noble, he could have walked away at any time, but he hasn't. Like as a West Ham fan, he's seen it. Like he knows what we're feeling as a fan. Like we're all fans, and he feels it because he's a captain of the club basically, and he represents all of us. And I think sometimes when we've been down and we've been in the situations where we've been relegated and all that, he feels our pain. And I think what's happened is basically he's turned around and gone, I can't walk away from the team I love, basically.
Yeah.
And I think what it is now, he can walk away from the team he loves because he knows the team's all right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the difference.
I agree with that 100% because you saw that come out when Diangana was sold. He was the first person to jump on Twitter and kind of get on the board for it. Obviously other players tagged on, but he was the first one. And I think it meant a lot in terms of, it showing that the players, not just specifically Mark, but the players cared about that locker room. Because I still honestly think that Diangana would have had a pretty decent season with us had he stayed.
I do too.
Especially seeing what he did in preseason. Maybe we still have Hilaire with that. Not that I'm trying to make any, we should still have Hilaire kind of conversation, but obviously we saw the connection that they had. So I don't know. I mean, he definitely has always been that player. Look at what he did with the people who were pitch invaders. He brought him on. Was like, yo, we get it, but you can't do this. Like, this is not the time nor the place, kind of thing. So. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously, like I said, he's from down the street from the stadium. Obviously, as I said last week, and it's a working man's club, and he is the working man. So.
But is he? Let me ask you this now, because we've had some debate about this in the chat room already, and I know this is a question that's not an objective question, but is he a legend?
I think Yeah, I think he's a legend in terms of like he's been around for a lot. Obviously, promotions, big moments in the Premier League and stuff like that. You're going to have an incredible highlight reel with him. I don't know if he had any caps with England or not, but
I don't think
I
there's
think
ever
the only
capped.
reason
Yeah.
the only reason I think you
No.
don't call him a legend is because I don't think you could ever specifically say that there was a time that this was Mark Noble's team. In a sense that you can say that it was Declan Rice's
As in
team, if that
ability,
makes any sense.
as in ability though, I wouldn't call him a legend.
Sure,
But as a man of loyalty, I'd call him a legend all day long.
Do you need
I
a
think he's
trophy?
low.
Do you need a trophy to be a legend? I mean, Bonds
No,
had a trophy,
definitely
Moore
not.
had a trophy. Devonshire had a trophy. Is
No,
Julian
I
Dix a
don't
legend?
think so,
Dix
Lee.
didn't have a trophy, did he?
No, Dix didn't have a trophy. Is he a legend to you, John?
Yeah,
Paolo
absolutely.
Di Canio didn't have a.
Paolo
Paolo Di Canio didn't have.
Right.
And he was he's classed as a god over West Ham. When you talk to West Ham fans, they class Paolo Di Canio as
he was
a god.
was the reason I originally started watching West Ham and even the Premiership at all was Paolo Di Canio when we had our highlight show on here 20 years ago in the U.S. He was the first guy I started to watch, among others, but mostly Paolo. But I mean, he does it because there's a lot of talk, Peach says he's a legend. But there's been a couple of people I put their comments up earlier. I can't remember who it was. I don't want to misstate, but a couple of people have said he's not. I mean, I think anybody who hangs around, I know he wasn't necessarily coveted by other clubs, especially these last few seasons. But as you said, John, he could have moved at some point. I think 18 years with your boyhood club, I think you're absolutely a legend. You have to be, It does matter that he's from East London. It does matter that he's local. It does. It makes a difference.
Listen,
can I just go on, John? Go on, I'll let you go, mate. And
sorry, mate. I just wanted the clubs thing, right? I think a lot of clubs knew he was off the table. If he's off the table, he never wanted to move from West Ham, so of course the offers aren't going to come in.
Right.
Like I said, I think Arsenal was out there for him. And if you ask me who Mark Noble is, right, and you want to compare him to another player in the Premier League about his level, I mean, I think he's a better version of John Joe Shelvey, and I may get slated for that. But look at where Shelvey's been. And Shelvey's been at Liverpool. He's been at Newcastle.
Yeah.
Those aren't small clubs. I think opportunities like that could have opened up for Noble if he wanted to leave. But I don't think he ever wanted to leave. So who's going to put a bid in for him?
Jess says nobody bid for him, and that's part of the reason why he's not a legend. And I'm not. I respect his opinion completely. Because there is the argument that the reason he hung around for 18 years is because nobody else wanted him. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I'm not sure that's necessarily true.
I'll tell you the reason why Mark Noble's a legend right now. He started his career in 2004 with us. That boy went through playoff heartache against Crystal Palace in 2005. Mm-hmm. We then got promoted in 2006, got to the FA Cup final and lost in the FA Cup final. He was a part of that. Yep. Then a few years later, we had the Great Escape, where we got away with it at Old Trafford.
The next season, that was the season after the FA Cup final. Yeah,
and then the season after that, the Icelandics go bankrupt, and we go into administration.
There you go.
Remember
these guys? These guys? The entire nation's economy collapsed.
And then a few years later, 2010, 2011 season, we get relegated.
Yeah,
then we get promoted. Then we get promoted again in 2012 against Blackpool, and he's been with us ever since. To me, the man is a legend in the aspect of not his ability, but his loyalty. And the man's loyalty can never be questioned. When you look at West Ham now, you think Bobby Moore, you think Jeff Hurst, you think Billy Bonds, you think Julian Dix, and then you go Mark Noble. As in generations. If you're going to do a generation thing, you've got to start off from the greatest player to ever play for West Ham to the player who's come here in recent generation. And he's up there.
Do you name a stand after him?
Good question.
You got Bobby Moore, Trevor Brooking, and Billy Bonds. Now, by the way, an oval-shaped stadium doesn't have stands. Let me just say that right now. London Stadium is an oval-shaped. So you cannot have stands in an oval-shaped stadium with no breaks. All right, You know what I mean. But we've taken that tradition for the Boleyn and we've brought it into London Stadium. So it's architecturally it's meaningless, but culturally it's important. Do you name a stand after? There's only one left. All right, there's only one left.
Tell that to Billy Bonds, Lee.
Well, Billy Bonds and Bobby Moore, of course, and Trevor Brooking have their stands, right? And yes, Billy Bonds obviously was wonderful seeing his reaction, having a stand, a curve of the stadium named after him. There's one left. I've heard arguments for Lyle Greenwood, John Lyle, Ron Greenwood together. I've heard
I don't know
arguments for
about
Mark Noble.
I don't know about you, but you've got to look at the generation type thing.
Yeah,
like
sure you do. Yeah.
Like if I was to have a child now, they would have never have seen any of them people play. Right?
I never saw any of them play. I never saw any of them play.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what
Trevor
I'm saying.
Brooking, I'm old enough, but not by much.
Right, but can you see what I'm getting at though? Like, there's people of my generation who's like 34.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Mark Noble as a youngster, being roughly the same age as the man. So I've seen him go through everything I've grown up. Can you see what I'm getting at? So you've got to look at it and you've got to weigh it up to say, you know what? Does he deserve a stand? I would say yes, because of what he's been through with the club. I just think like if you've either got to name a stand after him or you've got to retire his shirt. It's either one or the other.
That's interesting. Now I do love the idea of a statue. I think statues are great ways to commemorate players. I hate retiring numbers. We do this in American sports. Go to the Boston Garden, look up in the Selly and John, you know what I'm talking about. Look up in the rafters. Celtics players have weird number like 78 now because all their numbers are retired. There's like 30 retired numbers in the rafters of Boston Garden, right? That nobody can ever wear again. Even the Bruins have 8 or 10, and frankly, they've never really been all that good. I don't like retiring numbers. It seems sort of silly and American to me, and even in this country, I don't like doing it. But you would retire his number 16. Would you do that?
I'll give him the stand, mate. I think what he's been through. I think loyalty. Let's be honest. Loyalty in football are not a good mix nowadays. Let's be honest. Like, if you can see any players in the 21st century now who's going to sign and stay at the club, be a one club man, it's very, very rare. Do you know what I mean? So for me personally, I'd give him a stand. I think he's done it. I think he's done his time. He's been through the crap basically, and he's finished off. He's going to finish off with a good time. Do you know what I mean? So I think a stand for me. I don't know about
we should name the penalty spot after him.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Whenever they build a new training ground, you can name it after him.
Well, yeah, if they build a new training ground, that would be nice too, Sally. A proper training ground instead of the trailer park we have now. You know what they do in American sports? You guys know this. Is college fans especially. College football stadiums have like 12 names on them, right? There's the name of the stadium, then the field is named something. The actual field is named something, and then like the athletic facility is named something else. You know what I mean? Everything has a name. I'm trying to think of there's like Darrell Royal. Oh, look at this! Wait a minute!
Christ.
Wait a minute! What is going on here? Should we let him in? Should I let him in? What do you think, James? Should I let him in?
After this build-up, I think you have to.
I have to let him in. Okay, I invited him. But I've already talked about him behind his back. So, well, hello, Charles.
Second wind. Let's go.
Well,
Come
hello,
on,
Charles. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Charles, is it? Hello, Charlie. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
We're okay.
I was
Charlie.
busy. I was busy working, so I didn't see your link until just now. And then I just checked to see you were still live. I had a feeling you probably would.
You had a feeling, and you were right. Yeah. You missed Katie. All right, Katie was on earlier. You missed Katie, so that's totally your loss because Katie's the best.
Hi, Katie.
Well, she's studying now, so don't bother. She's got more important things to do.
I can't lie. I don't think she's going to hear that, but
she'll watch it later, probably. Probably not, actually. Charlie, we were just having a discussion, which you should join in on too. Is Mark Noble a legend? A West Ham legend, that is?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the argument against. Okay, let me give you the argument against. Nobody else. I'm trying to be objective. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what we've heard from chat room and everything else. All right.
Okay.
He only stayed at West Ham because nobody else wanted to buy him. He's an average player. He obviously hasn't won anything. Those are the primary arguments against it, I think. The primary arguments for are what you would imagine, 18 years with the club. And James mentioned a lot of ups and downs. He's been through relegations and promotions. He's survived it all, just the fact that he's been a great representative of West Ham and, of course, captain for the last 5-6 years, however long it's been. I mean, is he a legend to you?
Yeah. I think, to be fair, I think if you're measuring legends at West Ham by what they've won, then you've probably got a very short list. If we're being perfectly honest about it,
got a very short list.
I think, you know what? The idea of him, no one else wanting him, I think is probably untrue. I can't imagine that Mark Noble in his prime didn't have interest from other places. I think other people would have gone for him. It's just a case of like, he is what he is, you know. I love Mark Noble. I think if you're at a club for that long, you're that influential, you're the captain for that long. I mean, he's been here from the start to the finish, barring one short loan period. I mean, that's legend. That is like, he's got how many Premier League goals? He's got how many Premier League appearances? I mean, it's just it's another level. It really is. It's one of those things. I've said this to you.
He's a legend, though, Charlie, for his loyalty, though, isn't he? Let's be honest. His loyalty deserves to be a legend, doesn't he? For the amount of stuff he's actually had to go through at this club.
Okay, now let me ask you this, Charlie. This is what we're getting to. All right. How do you commemorate him? We have one stand left in our oval-shaped stadium, which has no stands. All right. We have one stand left. Do you name a stand after him? Do you retire his number? An idea that I personally hate, but that's because I don't like retired numbers. Do you build a statue? My favorite idea is, who said this? Name the penalty spot, the Mark Noble penalty spot. I think it was John who said.
John, yeah.
John said, name the penalty spot, the Mark Noble penalty. I love that. I think that's brilliant. It is. It's like the way college stadiums in the U.S. have, like, everything has a name. Everybody gets a name, you know, on it. How do you commemorate him, Charlie? If at all?
Like, if he hadn't had a testimonial, the obvious answer would be testimonial.
Well,
I think the problem with commemorating him to an extent is that I don't think he's going anywhere even once he retires. I suspect he'll still work at the club.
Oh, I do too.
And I don't know about any of you guys, but if I was the coach of the club, I wouldn't want to sit in the Mark Noble stand if I was Mark Noble. It would feel very gauche, to use a polite word. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know, though, Charlie. Charlie, I don't know, though, mate. Because look at our generation. I don't know how old you are, mate, right? But I'm 34 years of age. And the youngsters of...
Charlie's 12. Charlie's like 12, so yeah, don't worry about it.
Well,
Right.
okay,
So
all right. I'm 13, thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah, mate.
And by the way, right now he's sitting in the Charlie Walsh chair. Not many people know that. That's the Charlie Walsh chair that he's sitting in.
What I'm saying is, over the last, say, 20 years, people have grown up watching Mark, as West Ham fans, seeing Mark Noble be there through thick and thin. Surely, though, yeah, I know what you said about people winning stuff is bang on the money. He hasn't won stuff, but his loyalty for the club is no different to, say, like Trevor Brooking. He's been there for a long time. Can you see what I'm saying? So
yeah, I agree.
I think the stand, I think that you've got to do it is in a generation thing. I don't know whether you agree on that.
I think, don't get me wrong. I think he is the most West Ham player we've had for the longest time. Yeah. You get players like Di Canio who are legends because of their ability and because of the way they are, but they're like a firestorm. They come in and they go. Noble's been here for such a long time and done everything and is put the personification of West Ham. Even in the letter he put out, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to."
This is great.
I'd read it quick, but I got ADD. It's not happening. I want to carry on passing down what West Ham is to the next generation of players and to new imports and everything else. Like, that's the most West Ham thing going. I don't think you need to commemorate him yet because I think he's not done at the club. You know, I think he'll be here for a long time in a way that like when Trevor Brooking was done, he was done. You know, he came back as a caretaker very briefly, but apart from that, he wasn't sticking around. He wasn't a coach. He wasn't this. He wasn't that. You know, like Tony Carr was here for a long, long time. We didn't commemorate him in a certain way, but he was still here and still has that reverence. For most fans, know who Tony Carr is. They know what happened. Everything else. Right. I don't think he needs commemorating in an official fashion until he's officially gone from the club. If he decides to leave the coaching staff or go on to do whatever, then maybe. But until then, I don't think he needs anything really.
I disagree.
Here's a tastefully named. Let me just break in. Here's a tastefully named gentleman right here, Isaac. That is of wonderful, caring fathers give their kids the name Isaac. I'm just going to throw that out there. All right. Anyway, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Maybe not with that surname, but
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it. Anyway, go ahead.
Here's where I disagree. I think Mark Noble, if we look at who we are as a football club and the things that we value hard work, we value grit, we value determination, we've got a working class atmosphere, and we value our academy. If we're looking, and not to sound too corporate at any of this, right? But I've mentioned this before, that a true academy-based club would have a path from being in the academy to becoming a professional. Who better epitomizes that than Mark Noble? So I don't know if it's the Mark Noble scholarship. I don't know if it's the Mark Noble way. I don't know if it's the Mark Noble system. But if you stick those academy kids and have something named after Mark Noble, of here's how you go from an 8-year-old kid from Canning Town to professional captain of your local club, and this is the system and the regime that you follow, and here's how you hit that success. Anything to do with that should be named after Mark Noble. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like, but I know that he epitomized that, and to have something named after him in that way, and a system at the same time that can take the kids from the streets and give them a structure of how to become a professional footballer, that's what should be named after Mark Noble.
Well, I think
that's
whatever.
brilliant.
I love
well
that,
said.
John. I do. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
well-
brilliant.
Well said there. That was.
Yep.
I've got to admit that was powerful, and that was well said. You're
You're
taking
getting a
a
lot of
geezer out
support,
of
my
East.
friend.
You're taking a man out of East London who's in like a low working class area, and he's made it big. I think every West Ham youngster up and down the land, especially in East London, would appreciate that. That was well said. Go on, mate.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that's kind of important to remember here is that and you guys kind of hinted on it too, saying that he's not going anywhere. But I think whatever happens with any kind of like not memorial because he's not dead, but some kind of commemoration
Right.
for Mark Noble is
Right,
like
right,
it's
right.
not going to happen right away, right? Because like you said, he's still going to be around.
Yeah.
Unless maybe it is something to where, maybe the academy is, the academy training ground, maybe that's named after him. You could do that tomorrow, or whatever. But I think at the same time, if it is a stand, I mean, look at how long it took us to get the third stand named. Like not Trevor, but Billy Bonds was the last time he played with like the 80s or something, and look how long that happened.
I mean, he was a manager in the late 80s, but Sally, it's been 30 years since he's been involved with the club.
Yeah, but obviously you're not naming the stand after his managerial abilities.
No, of course not. You're totally right. Yeah.
But I think it is an interesting conversation to have because there is obviously a lot of history there. I think you could obviously, if you're just specifically talking stands, you could put it, for any of the gentlemen on the Champions Trophy, who aren't already, or the Champions statue, sorry, who don't already have a stand named after them, or if the stadium was a different location, you could have, the roadway named after him that leads up to the stadium or something like that. Like I guess now with like that one bridge that you take from Stratford going into the stadium, I mean, that'd be a poor representation of, doing something for somebody, but you know what I mean? But yeah, I think no matter what happens with him, something is going to happen. It just isn't going to happen anytime soon. I don't think, just because it would be too fresh. Even if Mark Noble never did anything that had to do with West Ham, the second his contract runs up, I don't think anything significant would happen anytime soon.
That's a very good point, Sully. And Billy Bonds last played for West Ham in 1988, and we named the stand after him two years ago, something like that. So I mean, long 30 some odd years passed from one to the next. It's same type of thing should probably happen with Mark Noble as well. All right, so let's. I'll tell you what, Kieran. Where's Kieran? Kieran always asks about this. Time to start wrapping up. Okay, so we'll have about an hour left, something like that. I don't know, maybe something like that. Let's talk about Manchester United before we quit. Obviously, no Jesse Lingard in this game because he's a Manchester United player. I'm thinking this is probably a 5 at the back situation. I don't know how we pull that off. I'm thinking we're probably talking about. My guess is you're going to have Fornals and Bowen, Fornals and I'm losing my mind. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I've totally lost my mind. Anyway,
Benrahma?
I was not. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking about Benrahma because he gives the ball away a lot. I worry about that a little bit against Manchester United. I'm thinking maybe it could be Fornals and Bowen up front with Antonio. I don't know. Bowen hasn't been in very good form, but what do you guys think about tactics? And after that, maybe go ahead and give me your expected result. I'll tell you right now that I'm worried about this one, except for one thing. We've already lost to them twice this season. It's hard. I think it's hard for one team to beat another 3 times in the same season. Many times you see this in sports. You see this in American sports. You see it in the NFL. One team wins twice in the regular season. Playoffs come along. The other team wins. If you lose the first 2, you keep making adjustments, right? You keep trying to figure out what you're doing wrong and get it right. If you win the first 2, you just come in and do the same thing over and over again. What else can you do? And I think the advantage in the third match, unless there's a huge gulf in talent, which there isn't here, I think the advantage in the third match actually goes to the club that's lost the first 2, not the one that's won the first 2. And I feel as though maybe that's something where it's something David Moyes can exploit. That's the reason I think we have a chance to get a result here, is because we didn't perform particularly well. We had some bad circumstances when we lost to them the first time. We fundamentally held them scoreless at Old Trafford. I know they scored in extra time in a cup tie, but I mean, after 90 minutes, it was 0-0. I think we have a chance to get a result here only because familiarity is going to be good for us. What do you guys think? How do you line up, and what do you think is going to happen? I don't know. Selly, we'll start with you. You go other direction this time.
I would do a 5 at the back just because I think it suits us playing teams that play with the style of Manchester United. So I think you probably start Ben Johnson, I guess technically not in the spot of Lingard, but just to kind of take, since Lingard won't be in, you put Johnson in there on the left.
Right. Yep, totally.
But yeah, I think Fornals and Bowen will be a part of this starting lineup with Antonio.
I do too.
I think regardless of how you line up, even if you go, let's say, a similar formation in style against them they did against Leeds, I think your mentality going into the game has to be the same that it was going into Tottenham and not how it was going into Liverpool, because this is a game. And I honestly don't think that there's any game for the rest of the year that we
agree with that.
Can't win. But, it all just comes down to mentality. If we play like how we did against Leeds in the first 10 minutes this past week, we're down 3-0 to Manchester.
We're going to get thrashed. Absolutely.
But at the same time, we like you said, the first game, it was really unfortunate set of circumstances. Probably not a game that we would – well, no, it is definitely a game that we should have won because we should have put away like 4 or 5 goals before Manchester got there first. Regardless if it was a fluke or not, it really doesn't matter. If we have 4 or 5 goals, okay, cool, you got one back. But and then you hold them, 90-plus minutes, 100-plus minutes without a goal. I think we go into this game with a lot of confidence, because I don't think necessarily Manchester United, granted they're second in the league, but I mean, they're not terrifying right now, and especially with the COVID season, like,
yeah,
anybody
everything's weird.
So
everything's weird, and Sally, I think you're right about the mentality. The way we went into Tottenham, that's how we have to go into Manchester United. The way we played against Tottenham, I wonder if Leeds was what we call in this country a trap game a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because you look ahead, you have Manchester United, you have Arsenal back to back, and then you don't have not a super long pause.
You got Wolves and Leicester after.
Yeah, it's a tough run.
Yeah.
Like the next 4 games, I know Wolves are not really in very good form. Leicester are very hit or miss. But you're playing, 2 traditional top 6 clubs back to back. Then you have a Wolves club that we actually beat really easily earlier this season. But then Leicester, that's a Champions League battle potentially for us. So I wonder if Leeds was a little bit of if we let off the gas a little bit. But I think you're right. Mentality has a lot to do with it.
I think they'll be highly motivated for Jesse too this time around.
I do too, and I think you've got to think Moyes really, really wants to win at Old Trafford, right? I mean, because he, it was a site of a very public failure for him, which I don't really blame him for. Nobody's going to replace Alex Ferguson.
Not his fault.
Not his fault. No, not his fault. But even so, it derailed his career. He's got to want this game.
Charlie,
what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know, but they're in a good run of form, Man United, at the moment.
Well, they just snapped Manchester City's 800 game win streak, so
yes,
whatever
yeah.
it was, 27.
And I think
games
they're
or something like
unbeaten
that.
in something like 10 or 11 at this point. I heard the stat a couple of weeks ago, so I'm extrapolating, but I think it's 10 or 11 or something like that.
They have not lost since they lost
January,
to
wasn't it?
Sheffield. They lost to Sheffield United on January 27th at home, and that's the last they've lost. Yeah, you're right.
They're in
Correct.
good form. At the moment, they're not conceding a lot,
No,
and
they're not.
they seem to be a weird. From what I've not watched them enough this season, but from what I've seen, they seem to either not score or score tons of goals, and there doesn't seem to be much in between. Their 1-0 win against us is kind of an anomaly in that sense, and even then, you could make the argument they didn't score, right? So I don't really know. They play a sort of. They don't. Ollie plays a very counter-attacking system, and usually that doesn't serve us super well. But at the same time, I don't think they can. It depends. My biggest problem here is that Antonio hasn't been in super form of late. I don't think he's been in his purple patch anymore. I think you're looking at him, you're saying, I don't feel as confident with him up front as I did 2-3 weeks ago. That's not a diss on Mikel Antonio. It's just sometimes these things
every
happen.
player goes through this. Yeah,
exactly. You go through a couple of weeks of bad form,
and
you
he's
get a
tired.
goal.
He's tired. He's been injured. He's come back from injury. He's got hamstring problems. We know that. He's tired. He's physically tired.
Yeah, if there was anyone else, I would recommend them starting over him just for energy's sake, to give him a bit of a rest so then he can come back on. But at the same time, I can't discount him scoring. I'm more confident than I have been in a while going up against Manchester United, but I'm not sitting here thinking we're going to comfortably win or anything. But I am pretty confident that we can definitely get a result here, and I don't think they're going to score. Well, I don't think they're going to score the 9 they did against Southampton, but I don't think they're going to score a huge amount of goals against us either. So I'm relatively confident, more than I usually am, going in against Manchester United.
These are the games, as we talked about this earlier, these are the games we have to win. I mean, we're so used to watching the bottom of the table and being in a relegation battle that we watch everybody around us lose most of the time, right? It doesn't work that way at the top. Everybody around us wins all the time. Everybody wins all the time. People were freaking out this weekend. Oh, the results didn't go our way. Of course they didn't, because the reason these teams are in the top 4, the top 6 is because they always win. That's why results didn't go our way, because when they play mid-table clubs like Palace and Newcastle, they beat them. That's what we have to do too. This is a 6-pointer for us, but just not a relegation 6-pointer. It's a 6-pointer in the direction. James, what would you do? Who would?
I think no one's mentioned it. Yeah, I was waiting for someone to mention it. I thought, right, I can get it in there now. Manchester United are playing Thursday night against AC Milan.
That's true. They are. That's a big game for them.
And that's a big game. And the thing is, they're playing against
in Manchester, I believe.
Yeah, it's in Manchester.
It's in Manchester.
The first time I think AC Milan's played in Manchester since Beckham returned.
And
oh, really?
If that was a small team, Man United might put out their second string and go, you know what?
Not against Milan.
Second string.
Yeah.
Not against Milan. All the big guns will play.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best time to play Man United, I think, right now, because they're going to have that on their mind. They're going to play that game. Personally, I don't think we go to a 5. I think we play the same system as we played against Man City. It's a 4-2-3-1 system. I think you take Lingard out of the team. Yeah. I think you bring Ben Rama in. You go Ben Rama one side, Bowen the other. Fornals as the 10, and Antonio up front.
Okay, fair enough. What do we think about? I mean, you guys, are you ready for? I think Bowen has to step back in. I don't think we have any choice. You think he's ready? I mean, his form really dipped, prior to kind of getting benched, which he sort of did.
I think he's ready. I mean, he looked crazy motivated to get those minutes when this last weekend against Leeds.
Yeah,
I think that I think a lot of that too just goes down to competition. Yeah. You can't play every game, and once somebody comes in who's better than you, I mean, it's professionals. Like, you're getting paid to play a sport, but you got to be the best week in, week out. Lingard came in and just stole that man's job, so he wants to play.
Yeah. Well, that's true. He does have a lot to prove, and we know he can be a good player when he's ready to be. So you would go with what we did against Manchester City, James. You wouldn't do 5 at the back. You wouldn't try to maybe put Fredericks over with Soufal and contain Rashford. Although, did somebody say Rashford's not playing?
Rashford's not playing.
Well, that's huge for us.
He's not playing against Milan either.
First
He's got
of
like
all-
a hamstring thing.
First of all, I love Marcus Rashford. Okay, not as a player, but as a person. I think he's a wonderful guy. I think he's a charitable, very decent, very good human being. Let me just say that. But I'm so glad if he's not going to play against us, because he shredded us in the first league.
If you want me to be honest, I don't see us going back to a 5. I'll be quite shocked if we go back to a 5. I think this is a game we can attack Man United. I think we will set up 4-2-3-1, the same system. Looking like this, we played Manchester City up their place, and we went 4-2-3-1, and we looked brilliant going forward and looked threatening. This game is a 6-pointer. It is like a massive. It's like like any way we need to get something out of this game. If we're going to go for European football this year, this is the game we need to get.
This is it. Yep. Well,
And
they all are.
yeah.
They all are. But this one is huge, right? Because we don't have a good record against the top 6. We got the win over Tottenham. I mean, we got a good performance against City. We need to carry momentum into this. Like, we need a result here. We can't just say, "Oh well, we weren't going to beat them anyway." We have to get this result.
If someone said to me right now, "Would you take a draw?" I'd snap your hand off.
I would too.
And move on to
Easy.
Absolutely, I would
Yeah.
too, because I don't think it hurts us that much. Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think? I mean, is this a winnable game? It feels like a winnable game to me.
Absolutely. And you know what? I wouldn't take a draw. I want us to go for it. And I think Declan Rice wants us to go for it. We owe them one. They've done us dirty twice this season between dodgy decisions, VAR, and just a match that we were in the entire time and capitulated. We owe them one. And not only that, we win this match, we're 3 points behind them with a game in hand. We're in a battle for second place. We got to go out and take it to them this match. And I think with the leadership qualities that we have in the team, Declan Rice, I don't think is going to let this team slump. Like we were talking earlier, he's a real leader. He's gonna make sure the team's ready to go. I think they know exactly what's at stake with this one. 3 points in the game in hand. I'm hoping to God we may see the best West Ham performance of this season coming in this match.
Well, John, how would you line up? What's your tactic? Are you doing the 4-2-3-1 or are you doing 5?
I agree with James. I think Lingard's got to come out. I think you stick Ben Rama in for him. Bowen's got the legs. Maybe Bowen comes in on the right.
Well, that's true. If you're doing 4, the 4-2-3-1, then yeah, you would play Ben Rama. I was thinking 5 at the back. Let me ask you this: say we do play a 5 at the back, and say we have just a 3 up front. Do you go with? I think you almost have to put Bowen on the right at this point. Do you go with Fornals or do you go with Ben Rama on the other side?
I think
Fornals.
you're probably going with Fornals for the work rate.
I think, and also because he doesn't give the ball away.
Can I be honest, Lee? Can I be honest with you?
Always.
If we go to a 5 at the back, we're looking for a draw. That is.
Yeah, that's
fair.
That's fair.
Good point.
We didn't do it against City. Why would we do it against Manchester United? I mean, yeah. So, and you may be right, James. I mean, I think Moyes, maybe he's done with that. Maybe he sees that we're past that now. Anyway, John.
Maybe,
I
think also it could throw him off. Because I feel like haven't we gone 5 at the back both times that we played him? So I think that might be something that just kind of throws them off if you go in more attacking. And plus I think you have to have Ben Rama in the starting lineup because of what he does, what he gives you going forward. Granted he can be kind of a liability going back, sure, but going forward that dude can unleash a game, or he can unlock a game or unlock players at any given moment. And I don't think he's scared to go up against anybody. I do think he has the ability to get around anyone, and I think he's fun to watch because once he has the ball at his feet, he's looking up. He's not necessarily trying to deke anybody. He can, but I think he's looking up for the pass because and it goes back to his first couple games that he played with us. He wasn't trying to score right away. He was looking to get other people a chance. Yeah. And I think that's just something that's kind of stayed with him, and I would love to see Ben Rama and Lingard kind of connecting more going forward because those two, I don't know how it happens, but those two seem to have a great chemistry already. So hopefully moving forward, that kind of stays that way. But I think you have to play him.
I really want to see where Souček and Rice line up. And I know that sounds really stupid, right? Because right in the middle. But I want to see how many paces in front of the central defenders that they are, because generally when we've defended, they're 2 to 3 steps in front of them. We're quite compact. If they're stepping up on McTominay, if they're another 3-4 paces in front of that, I think that will tell us whether or not we're going to play an attacking type of football, whether or not we think we can compete man for man, and whether or not we're just going to sit and absorb pressure or actually bring the game to Man United. So I think that for me is going to be a telling factor in the first 20 minutes of where are they standing? Are they going to be tight in with the defenders, or do we have the confidence to go out there and play man and say we're going to nick the ball off you and then we're going to go?
I'd also be concerned if from thinking about it as a Man United, from a Man United standpoint, they've just been handed a kind of blueprint by Leeds in a sense, whereas they know we started unbelievably shaky. We were all over the shop in that first 10 minutes, and it was because Leeds pressed us hard. And they pressed us harder than, look, they'll press harder than Man United will ever press because Marcelo Bielsa is a lunatic. But at the same time, you can't tell me if it's...
a genius if you're in the English
listen. I think he's insane, but I think he's a beautiful, brilliant man. But I do think he's a complete and utter lunatic. Don't get me wrong about it, but that's okay. Some of my best friends are complete and utter lunatics. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean I don't love them. But what I would say is this.
I appreciate that, Charlie. I didn't know it was one of your best friends, but that's...
Listen, Lee, me and you, mate, when this pandemic's over, we're going to have we're going to get some motorbikes, ride across country. It's going to be beautiful.
Hey, let me tell you, I get my second shot on March 25th, and then I will be unstoppable after that. Unstoppable. Okay?
I've got to wait like 2 more months, but once I'm there,
mate, well, that's because you live in a communist country, but here in freedom loving America, brother. Yeah, I'm doing it. All right, I'm doing it. Okay, anyway,
we'll roll over to France. You can show me the sites.
That's right.
I can say baguette a lot. It'd be great. I think you can't tell me that Man United wouldn't take those chances. You know, it was we sort of rode our luck a bit, and that's fine because you have to do that. Everyone rides their luck at some point during the season. Yeah. But
you're not going to do that.
If I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and I'm watching that last game, I'm thinking if we push them hard, we could get an early goal and then it becomes a thing. Now, the problem is that I think we're really good at coming back from taking punches and taking goal. Like even once
they're no longer listening to us at all. I don't know what's going on in the chat room, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. Charlie's selling cocktails. Anyway,
fine.
Go ahead.
We're really good at reacting to goals. We don't tend to let our heads drop this season at all. Even once we do concede, we're really good at coming back. But at the same time, if I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm screaming at that team. I'm going, you run at them. You run at them as fast as you can, as early as you can, as much as you can, because it was the most disorganized I've seen our defense all season.
But do you think, Charlie, the AC Milan game comes into play there, though?
To an extent, but Man United they haven't kept the most consistent 11 all season. I don't know who they'll play for either one. You suspect, you look at it and you would say, right, the main candidate is like, I know he's injured, but Rashford, you look at Bruno Fernandes, people like that will play. But at the same time, they're Manchester United. They're going to want to win both games. And actually, if they are tired after 80 minutes, which probably will be, actually, it probably gives them even more incentive to try and go and get a goal as quickly as possible, because then they can at least calm down a little bit later on.
To your point, Charlie, I think David Moyes has seen that as well, and I think he's going to say, listen, you better start fast. You cannot afford to start slow like you did against Leeds, because Man United have that power. They can go and get that goal quickly. So I would hope we're saying the same thing on our side. Like, you got to go.
I don't think the Leeds game is necessarily a red herring of things to come. I think the most frustrating part about it was just the fact that, like, the team has set the bar so high that it just genuinely feels weird when they don't play to that level, especially when it comes to a team that they should be, which obviously we did. That's great. If we shit the bed and still get a 2-0 result against Man United, obviously it's going to be happy days. But I think at the same time, I don't think that one game is going to be indicative of the rest of the season. I just think teams just have those let-offs, and especially with the way that – go ahead.
Declan said something interesting too, though, didn't it? I thought Declan said that the long wait between games had something to do with it. Like, the same thing coming into this game. They got so used to playing every 3 days, every 4 days, that it interrupted their pace.
9 days. It was a 9-day break. So you're looking
they played on like a Saturday and then again on a Monday. It was whack.
Yeah.
Well, but there's always, and we've talked about this too. Selly and I have talked about this a lot. People like to look at the Champions League games in the during the week and say, well, they're going to be tired from playing in Europe. But you guys know how it is. We see it all the time in American sports. The 7-game series, the winner of the 7-game series plays the winner of the 4-game series, and the winner of the 7-game series wins the next series. In other words, the tired team gets momentum and a rhythm going. Whereas if you sit for a week or you sit for a while, you kind of lose your mojo or something. We've seen that happen. We saw that happen with Liverpool. Liverpool came out and beat us after they had played a midweek game. And we had rest, and they came out and beat us. I can't remember the first, second game of the time we played them, but I mean, this happens a lot. So I'm not sure. Yeah, they are going to put out their best starting 11 games, I think. Something really weird going on in the background. You guys hear it?
Oh, this motorcycle driving down. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was muted. I apologize.
No,
I thought it was just like Tim. His presence just joined us.
Tim is landing on it. He's got a pod that's like landing outside my house. Yeah. But I mean, they
busts into the room. Fabianski signed a new deal. What?
Oh my god! I didn't even mention that because I don't even want to. I feel first of all, I'm happy. He's obviously happy that Fab is coming back, but I didn't want to have to feel obliged to mention that Tim will be upset about that because of course he will, because he hates keepers and he hates Fabianski for some reason.
Hates keepers.
He hates keepers. He has a whole thing against him. Anyway. Yeah, there's the momentum question. It's like, but do they get this train rolling? Like they beat Manchester City, which might have been the worst thing that could have happened for us. If they go out and beat Milan, they're in form all of a sudden. That seems worse to me for us than if they sat around for a week after beating Manchester City.
But let's be honest here, though. I know they beat Manchester City, but let's go back a couple of games before that. They drew with Palace 0-0. They drew with Chelsea 0-0. They drew a lot of games where they haven't scored. They're going to be up for the Manchester derby. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of draws. Yeah, you're right. Derby. And they had to win that game. And I'll tell you my conspiracy theory on that, okay? I think Pep let them win, all right? Because Pep likes Ole as Manchester United manager. Manchester City are winning the league. They're winning the league. You know that. Everybody knows they're winning the league, all right? They're not going to collapse. They're the best team. Right now, they're still probably the best team in the world. They're winning the league. He went out and told them, just throw this one. We keep Ole as manager. They don't sack him. And we own them for the next however many years. That's what happened.
Well, Manchester City had their version of their Leeds game. It was just one game that they just kind of let off. And, it is what it is. It happens, at all levels. And then look what happened today. The City goes out there and just destroys Southampton. And then, and at the same time, kind of like what we were saying earlier, with it being a funky season, Liverpool can't win for anything right now, and they went out and just beat Red Bull Leipzig 2-0 like it was last season.
Just easy. Yeah,
so
yeah.
So, I mean, then that's one reason, too. I don't think that we necessarily have to put too much weight on the Leeds game. Now, granted, obviously, if Manchester United get those opportunities, I think obviously they take them. But at the same time, like I said, we can't forget the fact that we should have been steamrolling Manchester United in that first game. Like,
yes, we should have.
They gave up a lot of opportunities to us, and it's not like they had a bad side out that game.
No, we should have steamrolled them, Selly. They got lucky with the ball that obviously went into touch of the air and came back in. We went into Old Trafford for the cup tie. We played them. We stood them up. We played them toe to toe. We took them 90 minutes without anybody scoring. I think at the worst we could do something like that again. I would actually love to see them lose to Milan. Actually, I think the best thing that could happen for us is if they lose that game. I don't know if maybe it doesn't matter, but
Ibrahimovic isn't playing in that game either.
Man, Zlatan, you're letting me down, brother. Letting me down. I love that guy, but come on.
I also think there's potentially an argument that they'll take the league more seriously than they'll take the Europa League. I mean, realistically, if don't get me wrong. Obviously, they're going to want a trophy, and Ollie's going to want a exactly. It's Europa League. Like, don't get me wrong.
You're right. Yeah.
Ollie's going to want a trophy. The team will want a trophy. The players will. The fans will. But at the same time, they've got a legitimate opportunity of coming second here, which guarantees you to Champions League football to begin with. The league is tight.
Yeah.
Do you want to try and go for a cup that your likelihood is you're not going to win it? Or do you guarantee yourself Champions League next season?
The thing is, though, Charlie, I'm not disputing that. But if they go and win the Europa League, they're in the Champions League anyway.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what I mean. They've got more chance of getting top 4 if they focus on the league
The
than
league
they do
is a
winning
better bet, yeah.
Europa League if they concentrate on it.
The Prem is a better
Mm.
bet than the Europa.
Yeah, but when was the last time Manchester United won a trophy, though?
Yeah.
They won
If
the
you got to
Europa
think
League
about
under.
it,
They
that
won the
just
Europa
gives you
League
the
under
answer right
Mourinho.
there. Like Manchester
since
United is all
Mourinho.
about silverware.
You're right about that, Sally. Didn't they
So
win
I
it
think
under
they'll go
Mourinho?
for
Though?
Europa League. I mean, they're at this point. Like you don't get to play AC Milan in the Europa League at
Mhm.
in the group stage. That just doesn't happen. Like you're far enough in that league now to where you're close enough to win it. And I think that would mean something to him. I mean, look at like Chelsea, or not Chelsea, but Arsenal. Arsenal won the Europa League last year, and they are poop right now. I guarantee you, if Arsenal win the Europa League this year, like the Premier League didn't even happen. Because guess what? They have another trophy, and they're putting up another banner somewhere in their stadium because hey, we won the Europa League. It's like
Yeah.
I think and the whole thing was second place, as we I guess kind of already said. Like this is kind of City's title to lose.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think that I don't know. Obviously, they have the focus on this because they can easily not be in the top 4 just as easily as they can stay second. But at the same time, I think, if it's been a while since they won a trophy, go for it.
Well, they're going to be doing both, right? I mean, realistically,
Right.
they're going to be shooting to go and get silverware, and at the same time,
They got the bench for it.
it's not even finishing as high as they can. It's finishing in the top 4. So
Yeah.
this match for them could be their biggest match of the season. They can stick 9 points between them and 4th place or 5th place, wherever we are at the minute. I can't even keep up with it. 5th place.
Yeah, 1
So
point.
that means they're almost guaranteed to finish in the top 4 if they just continue whatever momentum they currently have going forward. So they can fight on both fronts. But this is it's a big match, I think, for both clubs.
It's a massive game. Yeah.
But have Man United really been playing well? Take away the last game.
Not
they've
really.
drawn so many
No.
games 0-0.
No, not really.
Like-
James. I don't think so. I'm with you.
They've gone under the radar, I think. I think they've been picking up wins here and there that I'm looking at the table now. They got one more win than we do, and they've got like 3 more draws than we do. So the games that we lost, they turned into draws. That's really the only difference between us.
If someone could tell me their last, say, 5 games, right? I know they beat Man City.
Win, draw, win, draw.
Yeah, they beat Newcastle. They drew against Sociedad, which was they had already won that tie basically. They drew away to Chelsea. They drew away to Palace, and then they beat Manchester City away. Yeah, I mean, no, James, listen, you got a point. I mean,
Drew against West Brom.
Yeah,
I think the way I would look at it though is even when they're not in full force right now like they were at the beginning of the season, but even when they're not in full force, they're barely conceding and they're still winning and they're not losing.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point.
And this is them at a downward part of their career, which I do think they're not in lightning form or anything, but even then they're still. I mean, to be fair, this conversation could completely change after tomorrow night when AC Milan happens. They beat AC Milan 3-0. All of a sudden, we go, oh, they've got their form back. If they lose 3-0, all of a sudden we're like, ooh, they're not as good.
That's why I think losing is the best thing. If they lose, it's the best thing that can happen.
Yeah. If they lose that game, though, say they lose that game, or they even draw that game 1-0 or 2-0 or something, they've got to go to Milan if it's being played in Milan and win.
Yeah, next Thursday on the 18th.
Yeah, it may be the thing that what. James, they may say, you know what, forget Europa League. We're going to focus on the Premier League.
Man,
I don't know.
Actually,
who knows?
Looking at their schedule,
I can't see it myself.
Manchester United play 3-4 games in, what was that, 10 days? Yeah.
FA Cup and all, yeah.
Yeah, FA Cup against Leicester on next Sunday. Or not next Sunday, but on the 21st.
They won't capitulate in Europe. I mean, their fans will not. They won't allow it. They're not allowed to not at least give it a go.
They don't work that way. Yeah, they don't work that way. Yeah, the last trophy they won, they won the League Cup and the Europa League in 2017. I looked it up, so it's been 4 years. That's an eternity for them. So they're itchy, they're antsy. Yeah, no, I think they are.
They won the Carabao.
And they're not going to win the Premier League. All right, let's be realistic. Yes, they won the Carabao, whatever it is. They're not going to win the Premier League. Let's be realistic about that. I think even their fans know that. So Europa League is their best shot at a trophy. It is their best shot. And as you said, James, you win that, you get into the Champions League. So, on the other hand, clearly a club like Manchester United, with the money they have, with the fan base they have, with just the way they are, they're not just going to let us walk over them on Sunday.
We own one. We own one.
No,
You know
I'm
what?
not
We
saying
stopped
that.
them winning the league in the 90s, even when we were relegated.
Do you know what?
It's about
Do you know
time
what,
to get
though?
back to that.
If I'm being honest, if someone said to me right now, you're going to get a point up there, I'll take it, because they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, I respect them as a
any
club,
points we can get.
and as a team. But how can I put it? If we go up there and get a point and we beat Arsenal, 4 points from them 2 games, I'd accept that all day long.
I'd take that all day long. Absolutely all day long. 100%.
See, I see. I'm sort of along the lines of what John said, though. I don't know if I probably would take it. Don't get me wrong, reluctantly, but I think honestly, we should be looking at it as a game we could be getting points from. I think about the teams around. They're one of the ones where I'm like, they're susceptible, man. We could like, again, they're not conceding that much, but I think we'll create the chances to win the game, and I don't think that we're gonna concede that many chances to lose the game.
And Charlie,
I think we've got to go for it. I think 1 point does us nothing. I think it,
well, that's
it
what we're
moves
saying
us a little bit farther away from Everton. It gets us a little bit closer to Chelsea.
Let me
but
ask you this though, right? Yeah. Let me ask you this question, right? If we do beat Man United on Sunday, does that show us that we are possibly top 4 contenders if we go there and win?
Of course.
I think the Man City display showed us that.
I think Spurs showed us. I think Tottenham.
But the problem is with the Man City one, you don't get no points for. You get a good performance, but there's no points at the end of the rainbow. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we go there and take points off one of our top 4 contenders, so to speak, then it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, we should. We already beat Leicester. We already beat Leicester. We've done all right with Chelsea. I mean, there's no reason we shouldn't be looking that way.
There's no game left on the fixture list we shouldn't be able to win. I'm not saying we will win, but I'm saying there's nobody we should look at and say that's a draw or no points. Everybody is potentially 3 points. Everybody starting on Sunday. And
the only thing that makes me nervous that I guess you could say, let's say if we do win on Sunday, right? And I think it definitely would show us, especially getting a win in Manchester, that we are top 4 contenders. But I think the biggest proof of that wouldn't even be winning that game. It would be the next week beating Arsenal, because you talk about trap games. That's your biggest one right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I put a video out on the forum channel yesterday, I think it was, talking about the next 4 games, because I think they're the most pivotal for our season. And at the end of those 4 games, that's when I'll believe or not believe that we're top 4 contenders. Because if we come out of that looking good, then I think we're going to be top 4 contenders, because they're the teams around us. And if we don't, then we won't. But what I would say is this: when we're talking about whether we would take a draw against Man United or not, or any of the upcoming teams, if you talk about Arsenal, for example, or any other big team around us, right? When you're saying whether or not you would take a draw, if it was one of those big teams going up against Manchester United, would they take a draw? That's the way I think, and I think they wouldn't.
You're right,
Charlie. You have to take them on. You have to take.
I would take a draw, considering we've got no Lingard. That's the reason why I'll take a draw, because let's be honest here. If we go there, we're going to go there. We've got Antonio, who's not in form at the minute, looks unfit. If someone said to you right now, you're going to take a draw at Man United, you're going to beat Arsenal, you're going to beat Wolves, you're going to beat Leicester. If we get 10 points from the next 4 games, I think every West Ham fan would snap their hand off.
True, but the Lingard thing is a good point. But what I would say as well is that at the beginning of the season, when we were absolutely brilliant, we didn't have Lingard then either. I think Lingard's injected quality into the team in a huge way, and it's kept us and it's kept competition up and pushed us. But at the same time, we didn't need him at the beginning of the season. It might, if anything, work in our benefit, because someone like Ben Rama or whoever steps into that role gets the opportunity to shine when they might not have otherwise against a big side.
So the next 4 games, Charlie, how many points?
12.
Would you be happy with?
12. Well,
I mean,
okay, but you know what?
Happy with's like I don't know.
So recap, right? Man United, Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester. That's the next 4 matches.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the thing
This
is,
is the whole season
I'm still
we're
in the
playing,
position
the next
where
12
I would
games.
still be happy if we finished 7th. Like, but that's just me. I understand
Yeah.
that I might be slightly alone on that, but if we finish 7th, I would be happy. Because if you told me at the beginning of the season, yo, you're finishing 7th, I would have slapped you in the face and called you a madman. Like, it was true. Like
The only,
If you'd
the only
have said
thing,
10th, if you'd have said 10th, I would have done that.
the only thing I will say on that is no one can predict where anyone's going to finish. No one can predict where. The only thing we can predict at the minute is that Man City will probably win the league.
Right.
But we don't
Yeah.
know where Chelsea's going to finish, Everton's going to finish, we're going to finish, because it's that sort of tight. But in 4 games, if we said right now that we're going to get a draw at United, we beat Arsenal, we beat Wolves away, and we beat Leicester, we get 10 points from that. Surely that is a good return. Like,
yeah.
but by the same token, if you said to me we lost against Man United but won the other 3, I'd still take that as well. But
Yeah, but a point gained is a point earned, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like, if you're going to go up there, I'd rather not lose the game rather than, you know what I mean, give away a point.
Yeah.
Like, it's a point,
I
isn't it?
think
At
with
the
the
end
way
of the
that I think kind of thinking about it since we've been talking about this game, I feel like if we go up to Manchester and we don't get any kind of points, I feel like it'll be a letdown in the sense of I feel like something will happen in that game to where points were snatched away, if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah.
Because I do think that this is a game that we've proven to ourselves that we can win, you know, first time against them, you know, obviously in the first half anyway. And then the second time in the cup tie, you know, I think that we'll go up there with confidence, you know, whether we're playing, you know, and I know I said earlier, you know, you have the extra motivation to beat them for Lingard. I don't even think that'll come into play, honestly. I think that the team will be motivated. I think they'll go up there and they'll know that this is a fixture that they can win. Should they is a different question, but I think honestly, if it's a game to where we don't get anything out of it, I think honestly we either got dominated or it was stolen, and I don't think there's really any middle ground. And I feel like, yeah,
I think
we looked at the Man City game was about performance and not points. I think this match is about points and not performance. Where I don't care how we play, I just want to get 3 points out of it.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
1 point would be acceptable, but I want them to go for 3 because I think the stakes are that high that we could really be in and among it, and we could, you know, right now that's up against a rival. I mean, Man United, Christ, it's weird to even say it, but that's a rival at the minute. It's a rival. I mean, really, we would be one game in hand and 3 points away from them. That is the definition of a rival. I mean, we've got to take it to them. We've got to go for it.
Any other club in this position, and you guys know this, any other club in this position, especially a traditional top 6 club, used to being where we are on the table, would absolutely be expecting and demanding 3 points. Right? I mean, there's no way anybody else going for the top 4, whether it be Leicester, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, I know that some are, some aren't. No way anybody else would ever say we just love to get a draw. They all, if you're gonna be in Champions League, you're gonna be in Champions League because you win, and you win away, and you win against the big teams away, and that's just what you do.
Yeah,
so I mean,
I don't know about you though. I don't know about it's about not losing though.
Yeah,
like, it's not about winning. It's about not.
But here's the thing. Here's a question though, James. I mean, it's about not losing when you're battling relegation, and you say if we just get a point, then Fulham will probably lose, and Sheffield United will probably lose, and West Brom will probably lose. You know, we're at the other end of the table now. We're not used to this. We haven't been up here like this before.
I think
in a long time.
Not losing comes into play.
It does, but
comes into play right now too, because you don't want to lose out on European spots. You know, whether it's Champions League or not, you don't want to lose out. You know, I mean, I feel like if we beat United, right? I think I think 2 things can start happening. The first one, I don't really care if it does or not, because I think you might start getting some more respect because you're beating an informed United team, especially if they beat AC Milan, who is no pushover, because I think they're in title competition in Serie A. But you know, you beat an informed United team on the road. That's huge. You know, so maybe it starts turning pundits' heads. Again, don't care if it does or not, because it doesn't matter. Pundits don't play for my club. But I think, too, the other thing that'll start to come into play is I feel like you beat United on the road. I think finishing outside of a European spot will legitimately be disappointing if we win this game. if I'm being honest. If after this game, I think we're playing every Sunday from here to the rest of the season, maybe with like a one Saturday and one Monday game.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get to that point where it's like, okay, this is probably our scariest away fixture of the season that we have left. Finishing top 7 is top 6, right? Unless somebody wins some trophy and then Europa League is top 7. I don't remember how it works, but
it's top 5 on.
Top 5. Yeah.
But then if Manchester City win the League Cup, then it becomes top 6, and then if someone else wins the FA Cup, then it becomes top 7.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So if we finish outside of a Europe spot, which we'll just say top 7, just because. Probably because both of those other scenarios are very likely to happen. It'll be very disappointing if we beat Manchester United, have this great run of form, especially against the teams that we have been beating, like the lower teams and the relegation teams. I think it'll be really disappointing if we're not playing extra football next season.
Yeah, I mean, look at the fixtures, and Arsenal is home. We're home to Arsenal. We're home to Leicester. We're home to Chelsea. We're home to Everton. Those are the big name clubs coming up the rest of the season. There's the Wolves away fixture could be tricky, I understand, but I mean, other than that, it's Newcastle away, it's Burnley away, it's Brighton away, West Brom. I mean, on our form, we should win those. So yeah, this is a watershed, Sully. It really is. This is a watershed. I mean, this is the last really scary away fixture we have for the whole season. Everything else is
maybe Newcastle, because we always play real weird.
I'll be honest with you, there's a few away games there that we never win at. Burnley away, Wolves away, Brighton away.
Right in the way.
No,
I know. I agree.
Burnley is a parked bus,
but is this a different West Ham this season? We've beaten, except for Newcastle in the opener, which I think there were a lot of circumstances around that. We've beaten everybody outside the top 6, everybody, or drawn a couple of draws, Fulham and Brighton, but generally we've beaten everybody outside the top 6. So I mean, if we stay on form, then we should be able to, we control our own destiny in the sense that we get Manchester United, we get Chelsea, we get Everton. If that was 9 points for us, sounds like fantasy land, but if that was 9 points for us, I mean, that sets us up very nicely because we're directly jumping them. Do you know what I mean? We're taking points away from them. Those are all 6-pointers for us. So yeah, it's a watershed. I think we're going to see. I think the Tottenham performance gave me a lot of hope that we're legitimate contenders. I thought that was a real test for us that we passed big time. And I think this time, this is going to tell us, whether we're going to sit here next week and talk about Champions League or talk about Europa League or talk about, do we finish?
What would you be happy with, though, Lee, as a return for the next 4 games? In points-wise, obviously we want to win every game, but realistically,
I mean, as a West Ham fan for years, James, like you and like all of us here, as somebody who's watched this club for long enough to understand how things usually work, I mean, I'd probably be happy with I don't know, like 5 points as a West Ham fan. No, I'm serious. Manchester United, Arsenal, Wolves, and Leicester. I mean, kind of.
As you're losing like 2 of those games, though.
But
2 draws, 1 win, 1 defeat.
That would actually, most of the time, that would be fine with me. However, as somebody whose club is going for Champions League, I think I don't know, if we don't run 8-9 points, I think it's a problem. I really do. So, at a minimum, he had a 12. I think at a minimum, I think we should, Manchester United, Arsenal, Wolves, and Leicester. In all honesty, if we're a Champions League club, we win at least 3 of those games. In my opinion, we get 9 points. If not, it's okay. We're having a good season. You know what I mean? But I don't think you're going to make the top 4 by pulling anything less than 9 out of the next 12.
Yeah.
I think the North London derby this weekend will say a lot, too, about what goes into next weekend's match against Arsenal, because Arsenal got absolutely dominated by Spurs earlier, and Spurs only had like 27% of the ball, just hit them on 2 nice counters and just destroyed them.
Yeah.
And we could even be a trap game for them. Like, let's say Arsenal do go and beat Spurs. I genuinely think like they'll still be high on that. Like, oh, West Ham, whatever. We just beat Spurs. And easily, they could be beaten.
We should beat Arsenal. They don't know who they
We
are.
should beat Arsenal.
We
Yeah,
should have beaten
we
them the
definitely
first
should beat
time.
Arsenal.
We should
That would
have
be a
beaten them the
very
first time.
disappointing loss. Honestly,
Yes, I
even
agree.
a draw wouldn't feel right.
I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I think out of these next 4 games, a Champions League contender pulls a minimum of 9 points out of these next 4 games, and a true contender probably pulls between 10 to 12.
That Wolves match, where that's a West Ham atmosphere right there. It's the Wolves match of all of those that I'm worried
Wolves match
about.
is the scariest one because we beat them mid-season earlier pretty easily, but generally we struggle with Wolves. It's away. It's in the middle of a tough run of games. But again, if this is the new West Ham, what have we done all season? We've beaten the lower mid-table and lower table clubs all season. We've done it all season. I mean, we should beat them too. They're not great. There's nothing special about them at all. Not now.
Charlie,
not
what are you
season.
pondering on over there?
All of it. Just life in general, Sally. You know what I mean? I think I'm not. It's a good question. The points thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously the West Ham in me is quite content with lower points.
Me too. Right.
But
exactly.
It's just a case where we just have to take it to them because they're our opponents. We have to. I mean, we have to take it to Wolves. We have to take it to Wolves and Arsenal because they're winnable fixtures, and we have to take it to Leicester and Man United because they're our opponents. Wolves and Leicester aren't looking to break into top 4, but they're winnable fixtures for us. I mean, we should have beaten Arsenal in the first time around. Yes. I think when we faced Wolves the first time, it was, I don't want to say lucky, but they were atrocious. And so we took advantage of that and we put them to the sword in the best possible way. That's kind of what you got to do as a big team. That's kind of what you got to do as a big team. You've got when there is any weakness, you've got to go, right, you're ours, and you take it to the fullest extent. It's a difficult question. It's a really difficult question. So I'm just teaching.
Win these games again. We have the mentality. I personally have the mentality of somebody who's watched too many relegation battles, where I think of a draw as a point that nobody else is going to get. You know what I mean? We get the draw. Everybody else around us loses. That's what usually happens in a relegation battle because that's why you're in a relegation battle to begin with. This is different. Everybody around us is going to win. It's so funny to watch people on Twitter freak out when results don't go our way. Of course they don't go our way, all right? Because, Palace is not going to beat Leicester, whoever it was they played.
They won our way last week.
Well, they have, and that's the thing, Sally. We've gotten lucky. We've gotten lucky in a few cases. They have gone our way. Most of the time, they won't go our way because the reason the top 4 are in the top 4 is because they win, and they win, and they win, and they win. Do you know what I mean?
But the thing is, you can't judge it on now, if that makes sense. Obviously, the points thing for the next 4 is an hard. But if someone said to me right now, as a West Ham fan, right, you're going to go to Man United, you're going to get a draw, you beat Arsenal, you've got 4 points there. You go to Wolves, you either get a win or a draw, and then you beat Leicester at home. You would take that because it's the momentum.
As a West Ham fan, I would take it. Yes.
Yeah.
As a West Ham fan, I would take it. As somebody whose club is chasing Champions League, I don't know if it's good enough.
I mean, there's 8 points right there. I would take it. I would take two wins and 2 draws. Yeah, I'd take it.
I would take it. I'm just saying, if you
potentially, but I would prefer the wins to come against Manchester United and Leicester.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with that. To hurt them, to hurt their points total. Yeah, agreed.
Because that's why everyone freaks out on Twitter when the results don't go our way. Is because in order for us to be able to get top 4 or more, I mean, realistically, it's about what everyone else does as much as it is what we do. You know?
Well, and I think
when you're at the bottom of the table, you're rightly, when you're at the bottom of the table, you get a point, you get 3 points. You can pretty much predict that the teams around you might not get that because everyone's down there because they're not getting those points. Right. When you're at the top, everyone is picking up points all of the time. That's why they're at the top of the table.
And they expect to win every game. Chelsea, unless you're playing maybe City, all right, to be fair. Like Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, even Tottenham, all these, they expect to win every game. And if you're going for the top 4, nobody goes in saying we'd be happy with a draw. They don't work that way,
I also think momentum-wise, it's actually more important we win this one because I think this is the hardest one we have.
I do.
Out of those 4, realistically,
for the rest of the season,
this is probably
But if we did draw this game, though, Charlie, right, you wouldn't be disappointed, though, would you? Surely. If we went up there and drew with Man United,
the manner would disappoint me, but I would also think it's a potential 2 points dropped.
Yeah.
Like if I'm just looking at it logistically and I'm just thinking, 2 points drops not from a West Ham perspective, but from a league perspective, we've dropped points against people who we are fighting with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got to respect. you got to respect the point, though, isn't it? Like, you see what I'm getting at? Like, you go up there and earn a point.
You do.
You got like,
Don't get
and
me
then
wrong.
you play. Yeah, you know what I
I
mean.
mean, it would
Like,
put us a
don't
point
get me
behind
wrong.
Chelsea with the game in hand, so I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah,
And
don't
again,
get me wrong.
I'll take any point on the road.
Yeah, you respect the point, obviously, but I also think again, I think it's a case of like, say it was the flip side and we were in a relegation battle, would we take a point against Fulham? No, we probably wouldn't. We'd need to win that game. You know, I think you just have to beat the teams around you. You just always do.
Every game is like
But
that now. 'Cause it's weird.
Can,
'Cause, yeah, as
can
a
I
West Ham
just
fan, a
can
draw,
I just
sure.
say that though? I know you're saying about Fulham, but we respected the point against Fulham, and we was completely outplayed against Fulham. Like at Craven Cottage. Like, and let's be honest here, we didn't deserve anything from the Fulham
No,
game.
Both matches.
We was lucky.
Both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both
we didn't deserve
matches,
anything from
yeah.
either one. of them. Yeah.
So let's be honest here. If we go up to Old Trafford and we go, right, we get a point there, we beat Arsenal, that's 4 points. Well, as a West Ham fan, I'll be over the moon with that.
Of
Because
course.
I think, right, we've got. Do you know what I mean? Because the momentum carries on, and then
And
imagine
because
if
we
we
never
get
do
4.
stuff like that. We never do stuff like that. We never get results like that.
I'd respect
But if
it. I'd respect the point, but I still want us to walk up there to Manchester and kick him in the dick. I think that's what we have to do. I think that's at least the mentality that we have to show.
I agree.
That is at least you got to bring that mentally, and like we got to show that we're in a fight for second because we are.
Yeah,
we are.
Yeah,
we're not entitled to it. It's not theirs. It's open. The league is all fucking screwy this year. Anybody can get anything, apart from Man City are running away with it. Every other place is up for grabs. Let's go and take it. Go grab it. It's ours.
Yeah.
Let's have it.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing too. Like I was saying about like why I would be nervous about. Obviously, I'm always going to respect the point because we could easily go up there and get nothing out of it, which would be shocking. But at the same time, I feel like with the form that we're in and what I can imagine the mentality being going into that game for the club, I feel like if we do get a point, respect it or not, I just feel like it would feel like a letdown because I genuinely feel like something would happen to where that point was the result of us not getting 3. Obviously, that's what happens when you get a point, but I just feel like we would do something like maybe be up 1 goal or 2, and then they come back and tie it. That I don't know why, but I feel like that is what would happen if we get a draw in this game, which I know is kind of unrealistic to think, because that's way too many hypotheticals going into that. But at the same time,
I know what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying. I do.
Yeah, and like I said, James, obviously, any point we get, I respect in any match because points are not easy to come by in the Premier League, no matter who you're playing. Obviously, the first time we play Villa and Fulham, obviously we said we're lucky to get 3 points in those games. We went to Villa, did the double on them pretty easily. Go to Fulham, get a draw. You have to respect that point because you didn't lose to Fulham, which would have been much worse than drawing with Fulham.
Because they've only like 3 games.
I want to see
Liverpool and get a win.
I want to see Declan Rice dominate midfield. I want to see Thomas Souček bleed at some point. I want to see Soufal off his fucking head and look like a crack addict running around the pitch. And I want to see Bruno Fernandes with his stupid fucking run-up because they will get a penalty, miss that penalty because Fabianski makes a fantastic save. And after that, I hope we score a goal.
Yeah, I think
that's what I want to see.
I think that kind of perfectly describes what my worry is I worry that we won't, like, we should play like we belong, essentially, right? We should play like we belong in the same field, no matter where it is, against Manchester United, because we've shown that we belong with them this year, even though results haven't gone our way. And I feel like that I guess that's where my fear comes in, is we won't play to that standard and not get the points for it. I don't, like I said, that's too irrational to think about, but just for whatever reason, I feel like if we don't win, that's why.
Yeah. All right. I'm draining life force here big time. It's getting late even for me, which is unusual. But I see Ken's here. I'm glad Ken's here. He was only 2.5 hours late, but that's I'm glad he's here. So give me your score prediction. We've talked about everything. What do you think? Give me a score. I'm getting like loopy. John, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
2-1 West Ham.
All right. I love it. James, what do you think?
I'm going for draw, mate. I think we go up there. I think we hold them. we're going to have chances. I'll say 1-1.
All right, Charlie.
1-0 West Ham.
The little optimism. I like that. Okay, Sally, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Charlie. I think the first half will be kind of like a feel 'em out half, and then somewhere in like the 60th odd minute, we'll get a goal off a set piece, and it's just squeaky bum time for the next half hour.
I'll tell you what, after all the talk I did about how we have to win, I'm kind of with James on this. It feels like a draw to me. Oddly, let me just say this, though. I do not think that we'll lose. I think when we went up there in the FA Cup tie, when we basically played them to a standstill, I think we can do that again or something like that. They will get a penalty, obviously. I think we can get a goal. Would love to win this thing. I think if we're a real Champions League contender, we come out a winner here. My gut just tells me, though, I'm feeling a draw, and then we're kind of in limbo until Arsenal. But Ken's saying, look at this. Foe never picks West Ham to win. So I'm glad he didn't do that because we didn't want to jinx us. Ken is not positive at the moment. That is unfortunate. But Ken's only been watching West Ham for like 50 years, so what does he know? Let's see. Anybody else? Kieran says just settling in. I love that. Kieran's just like he's not even like getting started. Well, this is a good point. All right. Do we know who the referee is yet? Has anybody seen? We already survived a Mike Dean experience on Monday, so
No idea.
the chat room is overwhelmingly negative tonight. This is bringing me down big time. Big time bringing me down. All right. Well, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Anybody have anything you wanted to say that you didn't get to say in 2 hours and 40 minutes?
It feels amazing that this was short, but always fun.
Hey, it's always good to have everybody here. Charlie, I'm glad you joined. It was really good to have you. Glad you could come in. To Katie, who was with us earlier for about an hour, thanks for coming on. It was really great to see Katie. She does a show tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. That's 1 o'clock in London. And she's going to have somebody from Las Vegas on. Ooh, I wonder who that could be. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, watch Katie's show. She does a great job. We all love Katie. And John and Philly, Katie's neighbor. And, of course, James, proper Cockney in East London. The only one among us who's a proper Cockney from East London. John being a carpetbagger from Swindon, of course, as we all know.
Roundabout capital of the world. Thank you.
Charlie, who is from North London, Mr. Posh. And
Posh, how dare you, sir? How dare you?
He sits in the Charlie Walsh chair.
My friend has a dog, and he's coming around to your house, mate. You're gonna regret that. You're gonna regret that.
What part of North London, Charlie?
A real threat there, Charles.
I grew up in a council estate off Holloway Road.
Oh, I know that. You know what? Funny you say that. I used to live in North London off of Hornsey. And I was surrounded by Arsenal fans, but I was very proud to wear my West Ham shirt when we beat them their ground in 2016. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. Was that the Mark Noble when he had the press conference afterward when he did the little smile, little cheeky smile? Do you remember that one?
That was Payet's debut.
Yes, I
for
think
West
that
Ham.
was that game. It was like the
Like 2-0.
It was like the first game of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, first game of the
Yeah,
season.
and we beat him 2-0. And at the press conference, Noble did that little smile like he couldn't hide his glee. Anyway, and Sally, of course, my friend Sally, who's always with us on Wednesdays in the city of Denver, where I tell you what, man, those new Nuggets uniforms, those are nice. Between those reverse retros that the Avs have and those Nuggets, you guys have some nice threads in Denver. You're doing really well.
Silky threads over here in Colorado,
really,
for sure.
Really yeah, it's true. It's really looking good. All right, I am super punchy. So, wait, where's somebody's mentioning Rebecca, but I don't think she's here. So, anyway, to everybody in the chat room.
No, she's not. But I just want everyone to know she's posh. Thank you. So carry on.
Well, I knew that she's posh. Listen, let me just say this. I invited Rebecca to come on again tonight. She has had a bit of a setback in her family, so if you would just keep her in your thoughts or prayers or whatever it is that you keep people in, that would be much appreciated. She's okay, but she's had a little. Her family's had a little issue, so think about her if you would. And yeah, so let's take it to him on Sunday afternoon. And until then, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.